Hello, everyone, to Answer the Call, and welcome. We are back from our Croncy going to Citizencon, me covering it. It has been a crazy, crazy week. So, naturally, we're going to do talk about our experiences with Citizencon podcast. But there's also the mention of the NPC crews not being in 1.0.
Yep.
I'll put very big quotations around drama, and then the actual drama with the Galaxy stuff that was pretty interesting as well a couple days ago. So, a few topics that we'll discuss today. If you are not familiar with Answer the Call, this is your first time watching, it's a Star Citizen podcast hosted by myself and Croncy, two Twitch streamers that are, trying to make it in the verse. But we're the big theme of the show is, and why it's called Answer the Call, is we talk a little bit about what we think, but then we open up our Discord to you guys to come in and talk and share your feelings on the subject as well, using the somewhat small platforms that we've built over the last 10 years, I guess, right? So that's the idea around the show. So get subscribed on YouTube if you're there. If you're watching on Twitch and this is your first time, follow both myself and Croncy. I'll do a little shout out to Croncy in there. But Croncy, I know you're a little sick, but how you feeling post Citizencon?
Yeah, like 90% of the attendees, it seems, did come home with something. Not COVID, but something really annoying regardless. But still feeling really good about the week in general. It was a hell of a weekend. The one problem I have with Manchester, though, is it feels exactly like Melbourne. And so it's like, why the hell did I travel 24 hours to go to Melbourne when, like, it just felt pointless. Like I can just drive there.
What about it feels like? Because obviously Australia is a little bit
we copy a lot of UK architecture and stuff.
Gotcha,
right?
architecture.
Like we stole a lot of it, so it just felt like going in downtown, like even like downtown Sydney. So very, very cool, but it didn't feel like I was in a different country.
Gotcha. Outside the rain, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now we're a week later. We're officially like It has been a full week since the last kind of 1.0 conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Have you come down at all from the Citizencon high that was? I literally heard you going, "Let's go" in the crowd for things. Have we come down at all?
Fun, right?
Yeah.
You get put in a crowd. It's just fun to yell.
Of course, I do it too.
Of course, I've come down a fair bit, and I've spent the last couple of days rewatching all the panels and getting reaccustomed to all the stuff that they mentioned, as well as get them within the better context.
Mm-hmm.
But I am still. This has made me optimistic about the stuff that they've shown, which is interesting. This is my first time watching a concept Citizencon. Right, all of the Citizencons I've gotten to be a part of or like watched in the last couple of years are all showing stuff in engine, or like here is like last year, here's server meshing, here's the new UI, here's maps, that stuff.
Yep.
This is the first time where it was like, hey, here is what we want to do with a certain feature. The people that were on those panels, I've also gotten to like meet and talk to a lot over the last couple of years, and so that's made me confident about that stuff. So I am in prime position to be very disappointed over the next 3 years.
Yeah. I think, most likely we will be very disappointed about things throughout the years, just because, like you said, it's more of a concept or their intentions or right. So the idea of these things becoming a reality in the exact way in which they showed them here in PowerPoint presentations, for the most part, is a little difficult. I think the base building feels a bit further along. Oop, I actually got the intro thing done. Nice. But they're showing a caller that's going to be coming on. So
yeah, they showed a fair bit of stuff in engine, surprisingly.
Yeah,
but all of it was still just art assets in engine, with the exception of like the sandworm, where it was like, hey, we went and actually fought this last week.
I mean, I
And
think
I
this
have
was a little
never
further along than art assets. We had some UIs and
they
placing
no, they never.
things.
Well, so
Right
yeah,
here.
they do show this UI. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do show this UI. Um, but they don't show the drones doing the building or like it's just press
Everything
this,
just
place this.
appears. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They don't show how the cargo element's going to come into it. Really, they
Mhm.
talk about it, of course, but none of that is shown. And I feel like this is essentially, or at least it feels, like it is just Rastar. Like they're just opening up Rastar in engine, right?
Yeah. Which, hey,
So yeah,
happened a lot faster than I thought it would.
fair,
Right.
fair.
So
Yeah,
not
I mean,
bad.
yeah, they literally at the end of last year were like, we're going to begin concepting base building, and then they did
Mhm.
get. Yeah, I will say they got far ahead than I thought they would, but
Yeah.
it's still concept citizen. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like, how do we want to start? There's so many things to go over. I will say one thing. I am really mad they made the Hornet. I am so mad the Hornet was there at the convention center as like this little
Oh
prop
my
thing
God.
instead of a
Yes.
demo. I was going, oh, everyone that I could yell at for the last like month, I've been going, there's no chance the Hornet exists. You guys are crazy. It's a debate. Nope, that was wrong.
A giant waste of money. No matter
Yeah.
if it
Well,
costs $10 or 10,000, it's a waste of money.
I have a theory on this as well, though.
Okay.
And it goes along to the greater sort of aspect of Citizencon weekend. I think CIG have a lot more pull with the Manchester Council than many of us might think. It's certainly more than I thought,
Yeah,
because
it's
that
going to be
Hornet is
like
going an art
yeah.
installation. Yeah. In addition,
For a
you know,
game that might not come out, this is so funny, dude.
in addition, they shut like the council shut down a street for the bar citizen on the Friday. Which
Wow.
side note,
Okay.
over 2,000 people, way too many people. Bar citizen guys, I love you. You need to bring that way down. You can't let that many people in. It was crazy.
That's where everyone got sick, probably.
Possibly.
Nah,
Uh,
that's
but yeah, and in retrospect, it makes sense. You know, you've got 1,000 people in the city center working every day. Bringing a lot of money into the city. But I think they probably spent like the council probably spent a fair amount of money on that installation.
okay. Fair enough. It's it was ridiculous though. That's just
Yes.
it's just so Star Citizen of them. But yeah, like where do we start? I don't know. Like I think what was your absolute number one best thing you saw? Like you've now gone through a lot of the the ability to watch back via video and not just be there in person. You're certainly missing
Yep.
stuff in person. I missed a ton of stuff while watching it live. So watching back, number one undefeated best thing you saw at Citizencon.
The crafting. It's.
Yep.
I will say, it is barely undefeated because very very close to crafting. I would put the new social and org tools, which once again were mock-ups, but just like it's both the crafting and that I was like, I cannot find anything that I would have done differently. Or,
On the UI,
or like
could.
anything. I mean, as in terms of like functionalities, all the functionalities you've mentioned that you want to be able to do for this, or that you want to do for crafting, is exactly what I want.
would you have
looks and stuff, sure. Yeah.
would you have wanted more than what they showed? Obviously, yes, right? Like some other things.
For the social stuff, yes. For crafting, I think they've kind of
Crafting, they kind of covered
Yeah.
it. The only thing I think they're missing that I think would be very, very useful and helpful for, especially for solo players, is BPOs and BPC situations from Eve, because then somebody who is able to get the BPO can sell smaller versions of that. A BPO is a blueprint original, and a BPC is a blueprint copy for the people who don't know. Basically, you can make copies of your original, which is very hard to get, very expensive, and you can make copies of it that have very limited run times, and you could sell those for people that are much smaller scale people like myself. I was buying BPCs and things like that, right? So that's
it's also
I would like to see that.
research. It's turning research into its own profession.
Yep.
Where you can sell stuff that way. I would like that. I think as well. I am kind of undecided about, like they mentioned that that blueprints will be tied to your account, and then you can upgrade them from there and all that sort of stuff. I am undecided whether I like it yet or not. It's one thing that I have to see working in game first
Yeah.
before I can sort of decide if it's a better or a worse idea.
You do got to
Um,
get them to your
yeah.
base to
No,
claim them.
I did not see that anyway. We watched that one today. It just, you unlock it, you just have it.
Yeah,
Period.
but it's on a data pad, so it's implied, I think. So it's one of those things we're gonna have to see it in practice. But
Yeah.
while it's on the data pad, you could steal it. How do we claim it? They never said anything about.
Yeah.
So do you claim it by putting it in your crafting station? Do you claim it by double clicking it? We actually don't know at the moment. So hopefully you got to bring it to your base. That would be my like good middle ground there.
Yeah. But with that aside, all the other mechanics of it I absolutely love. I like that they want there to be variation in between the tiers as well. So like you can make 2 tier 1 Volt pistols and they can be completely different based on materials.
Yep.
Huge
Love
fan of that.
Every item's going to be unique. No need for the whole mechanic of tweaking that we thought was going to be a thing. Now you do it via craft. You do it, but you just do it a little differently than we expected.
Yeah.
Maybe they go that route as well, but yeah.
And the biggest thing about it in general is it gets rid of pay to win. Still, it'll be impossible for us to avoid pay to advance.
The insurance thing is the weird one where they almost made it worse. Pay to win.
Like made insurance worse.
They made buying a ship on the website more valuable than it's ever been.
I don't necessarily agree, because it's always going to come, like when your ship comes back, it's going to be tier 1.
No, not if you get tier 3 insurance.
Does tier 3 insurance count upgrades of ships? I thought it was just components and stuff that you have on it, equipped to it, not necessarily the level.
Those items are upgraded, aren't they? So you have to assume that it's again, all speculation. Yeah. But if tier 3 sounds like you just get a copy.
Because LTI is only level 1.
LTI is only level 1, but you cannot lose that ship while somebody who is playing the game with a $45 ship, everything they earn in game is completely losable except for a couple of whatever warranties they are able to earn in game. While somebody who has 15 ships has 15 warranties immediately applied.
Sure.
Or
but then you still like that's what I'm saying. Like if I upgrade my ship and you lose your ship, I'm still in the better position.
I guess we're still speculating on that, because if we both upgrade our ship, then I'm in the better position if I bought it.
You only have level 1 insurance.
No, I am automatically given level 1 insurance, which gives me the ability.
So you're saying if you spend the in-game money to get the higher tier.
Yeah, and I have that. Sure. I have that access to that because it's automatically paid for through the website, and you always get your ship back no matter what, because they're not taking they're never going to allow you to lose that ship. You will have to pay a penalty or whatever, but you will never lose that ship. Croncy is right. There's no right or wrong here. We're just talking about.
I don't know, Mike. I'm pretty sure I'm always
yes, right. Croncy's right about a subject that doesn't exist. Okay. You're not losing your ship if you paid real money for it. You can lose your ship.
Yeah, you can get
if you didn't. Done. End of story. Those are facts. There's no right and wrong. There's just facts here.
Another fact is that it removes a lot of the big pay to win stuff. It's still pay to advance. You're still going to be in a better position having a pledge ship versus someone who starts off with just like an Aurora or whatever. Yeah. But now everyone progresses, right? Like no one will be at like right end top tier immediately.
The Starfarer base is not the best Starfarer. Is not the best refueling ship. The tier 5 Starfarer with all the upgraded stuff will be the best one. Yeah. With the best possible material, whatever, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and even then, not necessarily the best, but the best at a thing, depending on how you've done your research, depending on what materials you've used, depending on how you've specialized that tier, right? So a huge fan of that. The So that was the crafting stuff. The org tools.
Yeah, let
Once
me bring
again,
that one
this
up.
was just like the theme of this weekend, or the theme of last year, was UI and like backend tools. This year it was all, how do we make this an MMO? How do we make this a game people want to log on to every single day?
But
And so a lot of
also,
the stuff,
like,
Yep.
not trying to reinvent the wheel.
yes, correct.
Just being normal. It's awesome.
Yeah. And that's exactly what they did. They showed the social and or like the new friends tools, the new org Moby-Glass app, which was all a mock-up. I don't think they explicitly said it was a mock-up. It's a mock-up. Look, like you
Yeah,
look at
it's
it, it's a
PowerPoint.
mock-up. But it's awesome, sweet, right? Like, first off, being able to do like a hostiles list, fantastic. That's going to like one of the biggest parts of MMO gameplay is knowing who is friendly or not.
Yep.
Having a org progression by aligning yourself with a guild. Hell yeah, super
It's
super happy
cool.
with that.
I want more than one guild for us to align to personally, but I
Just
kept thinking,
just join more orgs. There's no reason you can't have a your org is called 30k, right?
yep.
Yeah, there's no reason you can't have a 30k industrial, 30k bounty hunting, and then people can move between those.
Okay, well, did I miss something then? Because you only gain the benefit from the org that you're representing.
Correct, but that's what I'm saying. You could like you swap between them depending on what benefit you want at the time. Obviously, they also said that there will be a
Wait, you don't lose that benefit when you swap who you're representing?
You do, but I'm saying you do, so you don't need both benefits at the one time, right? If I'm doing industrial missions, I only need the industrial benefit. I don't need the bounty hunter benefit. So you would swap between the two orgs. They did mention to stop abusing of this
There'll be a
because it would be
cooldown,
obviously very easy. That there'll be like a cooldown. So I would love some more info on that, but I think that'll be a while till we get that.
Yeah, I liked that idea at first, then I hated it, and then I came back to liking it with the idea. Well, I didn't hate it, but I came back to liking the idea of it from the sense of, okay, like this is specific org benefits with that guild, but that doesn't change the fact that me, myself, and maybe a few of my friends can go and do missions for that guild on our own and gain our own individual benefits. So, for example, my 30K Inc. Might be really mining focused, even though we want to craft and salvage as well. So we might go down a certain route to gain mining benefits, right? But the salvagers in the org are going to go and do a bunch of missions with salvage companies and things like that to gain those benefits. So you're going to have your individual benefits, but then you're going to have this extra benefit for being in the org. I think people hyper-focused on like, this is the only benefit. No, you're going to gain tons of benefits from other orgs, I assume. This was my favorite from this panel, was the chat. They took one of
100%. Yeah.
I said it during the coverage with Level Cap. Ever since we got this puppy, I've been way too busy in the afternoons to focus on my main YouTube channel the way I wanted to. But I was planning on making a YouTube video called the 10 things or the X amount of things that CIG can learn from Eve. And this was the number one thing on my list, was being able to link things in the chat. I want also to link like websites, third-party tools, all kinds of stuff. But being able to link the actual items in the game, players, locations, all sorts of things is so powerful. If you've ever been in an Eve Alliance, like they're showing it in a very basic way, but Eve Alliance makes their own channels. I'm assuming we're going to make our own channels, and
one based of them, on the names of some of those for sure.
Yeah, and one of them is like a standing fleet, let's say. And if you're getting attacked and you're close by home, you just spam W in the chat and your location, and bang, everybody just goes to you. And then they have everyone who's waiting for a fight has one, and they're defending their own members like that. Obviously, Eve, you can move a little bit faster than in Star Citizen and blah, 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 blah. But there's that option is there. Hey, like we just played yesterday, so I'm fully high on the Citizencon copium as far as org stuff goes. So I got together. I started using Regolith.rocks. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a third-party tool that's like amazing for mining and salvage and group play. And I wanted to get my org figuring out how we wanted to use that tool. The game is not fun perfectly right now, but getting the guys together and playing to get you to the place when it is fun to be organized is what I'm enjoying right now, right? And we went out and I announced, hey, we're at Crusader L4, we're at Crusader. I just announced where we were over and over and over again on stream. I wasn't even there. I was at ArcCorp L2 doing the refining side of the stuff. A French org was watching the stream and stream sniped the miners at the mining location. Now, stream sniping, many people would consider negative connotations. I deserved it. I announced where we were 35 times. Is that really stream sniping?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're literally asking for it in like every way imaginable.
Exactly. Like, I'm not mad about it at all. But what did I do? I jumped into another Discord and was like, hey, you want to fight? Here it is. But if I just message them via the game, and it's so much faster. It was like this whole idiot sandwich trying to get people to come and get a fight or protect us or whatever. This stops all. I just love this. I absolutely love this. I know, like I've talked about it.
I thought you were going to say you can't wait for the mission called Cheesecake.
That is very exciting as well.
As a quick aside, no relation to Cheesecake, but in relation to missions, I did get to chat with Elliot a little bit.
Nice.
And he is very, like, his takeaway from the whole weekend is just like, I'm really excited to make missions for all of these things. And I imagine that's something that we'll see over the course of the next like year or so.
They have a lot of that was filling out the world to do now, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that was like the biggest stuff for me is anything that was ever in relation to group gameplay and turning this game into an MMO was like my biggest excitement, I guess. There's also a part of me that's like, you know, that UI that they showed for parties and for orgs feels like it's not too far away. It probably is, but it's one of the things that feels like if they dedicate it, they can do it.
Yeah. UI is a crazy thing though. Yeah. For whatever reason, it takes forever.
It is, yeah. It's also like, will they want to have that out before they introduce guilds? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Because I mean, I would want it out as soon as possible, just for ease of organization in general, right?
Yeah.
And getting ready for events and stuff. But yeah. A big takeaway, or at least thought that I had after day one, which I do want to say, so I was at the convention for day one. Day two, I was getting ready for the Atmo event, so I had to watch everything on my phone. I wasn't actually in the room or anything.
Yeah.
But day one certainly felt like a lot more of the tangible stuff. There was a lot of sort of the first panel, which was the world building panel, basically. There was like a lot of sort of murmuring in the crowd, or like general sort of. You could tell that people were getting bored. But I had this sort of realization that it's basically exactly the same as the first panel we had last year.
Yeah.
We just didn't get the 20-minute video, right? And when I say exactly the same panel, they were talking about different things, but the same people talking about similar tech and how it's evolving and whatnot. It's one of the panels I think we're going to get literally every year of Citizencon until Star Citizen no longer exists.
Sure. Yeah. Why wouldn't they? Just hey, our updates to our engine. I fell asleep during that one, to be honest. Like, I was falling asleep with my eyes open. It was just very it made so much more sense after the second day. It was like, oh, this is how they're going to fill the world with content, and the second day was the content in a lot of ways. So it was like, oh, okay, like it made way more sense then. Obviously the new biomes were really cool looking and stuff like that, but you know, with some of the technical engine stuff, like, I don't care. I mean, I think everybody knows my feelings about the way they communicate the game. Like, I just want to play the game. So, like, I don't care about how you develop it personally. So, I was a little bored with that one. But
what's your takes on weather? This is the first time that we've seen.
I think it's still just like
that,
more.
Really,
it's cool. It's cool, but is it not over the top? Do we need it? No. It's awesome. Like seeing
Yeah.
the Aurora get like shot out of the sky with lightning bolt. Very cool. Do
Yep.
you need it? Do you need it? No, you don't need it. We don't need to. We don't even need to talk about it. It doesn't need to be a part of
Yeah.
1.0. Like, how do you say NPC crews are not a 1.0 thing, but weather is, right? Like, if you were going to list a thing of prior, obviously, there's technical reasons that, you know, things are more difficult, right? But
Yeah.
if you were going to list something out there, NPC crews would be one of the most important things for a 1.0 release, in my opinion. Weather would not be. Like, you know, that would just be one of the things I would leave off. But I think people think it's going to
I
make.
don't think NPC crews are that important.
I mean,
I know a
you're
lot
not
of
a
people
solo
really,
player.
really do.
Yeah.
Exactly. So stop scrubbing up solo players. Get some friends. Now that we're gonna have org tools.
It's such a shitty way of. That's such a. I know you're trolling, but it's like people actually say this stuff, and it's such a shitty thought process because, like, Croncy's joking, guys. So chill. I hope you are at least the the thought process of the way I play the game is the way the game should be played should never be how it is, right?
Yeah.
Because an MMO needs everybody to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's fucked. So we need everybody to enjoy the game, and solo players included, right? So
to clarify on that as well, did they mention that blades were in plan for 1.0, just not NPC crew?
I think both are not, if I remember.
Okay.
I'll have to bring up the post, but I'm pretty sure they're not. Oh, God, the Twitch chatters are trying to get me. Mike, you play 90% solo, right?
Yeah, but you'd love not to.
Yeah, I don't want to. The game sucks. Chat saying blades are in. Okay, so that's
okay, cool.
That's not as bad, but blades are just firing turrets for you. But you know, you're not getting engineering help or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just day one I was kind of like meh, but then day two was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah. I do recall from our Citizencon predictions episode that one of your most anticipated, after you realized what it would actually be for a while, one of your most anticipated was Dress to Kill. What do you think about all the new, like having armor archetypes more than just light, medium, heavy?
I like it, but it was like we did, like Jared got on stage and said, hey, you know, the person who was going to present this ended up backing out like last minute or couldn't do it or whatever. So the guy who made the panel, like he threw it all together and like did it really quickly and like great job. He like praised him for it. It showed because, you know, when you looked at the crafting panel, you saw like actual numbers on the screen. Whether those are real numbers that'll be in the game, I think we obviously know are not going to be the case. And all that was mock-up as well, right? Whereas we had the actual art assets of the armors and stuff like that. But the PowerPoint presentation of the armor one was like the little dots, like, oh, this is going to be better for this, and this is going to be better for that. That's useful. But what I was dying to see was like actual numbers of, you know, how is this different than
what's
that?
What's this damage reduction? What's this whatever? Yeah.
Exactly, right? Is this material better against laser damage? You know, like that's more what I was looking for. We didn't really get that. Also, no visors were shown. No new visors were shown. Nothing on the salvage. Nothing on mining. Nothing on. It was straight combat.
Yeah, it was all combat. Yeah.
Yeah. So it did not deliver as far as a panel would go for me personally. Like on that, like what I was looking for that one. But it's not saying that wasn't a bad panel whatsoever. It was very good. It just I had my expectations going in. They weren't met. Right. That's all. Not really like thinking of it negatively.
And obviously, in that panel, as you are a veteran, how much PTSD did you get after seeing the sandworm?
None, because it was how would I describe it? It was like scuffed, right? Like it looked like a pretty basic MMO fight kind of thing. So it looked like it's doable. It looked like it's possible. It didn't look super hyper polished. Like they threw this video together to make us.
It looked like a PTU build.
Yeah, like its animations were kind of rough, and it's spitting stuff, and yeah, like it it did the opposite. It was like, oh, this is a reality. Like this could really be possible. Very simply. Like, all right, let's just put the crafting materials on the outside of it. No problem. Let's mine it after it's dead. It felt like Valheim. And it was good. Right? Like it doesn't have to be perfect for me. I don't know. It never had to be. It just has to be fun.
Yeah, I like that it sort of showed into what the rest of the weekend was, which is like, well, why are you doing this? And they mention all of the new materials that you'll get off the sandworm. I also like that, you know, when they went through and showed some smaller versions and different variations of the sandworm, like just continuing on. It's like, once again, we still right now in live only have 2 animals, right? The Copian and the Marox, with slight variations between them. But saying like, no, like we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep bringing out things that aren't just humans for you to fight. And I like this a lot. I like the intention of making it multi-vehicle, as in like multi-role is required to do the event. Fantastic. Hopefully that is actually how it works, and someone doesn't just figure out that you can just like scuff like ski a cutlass red on like the sand or whatever. But it was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm excited to see this. This also feels the most far ahead of anything that was shown throughout the entire weekend, with the exception of maybe some of the planet tech. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this in like a 4.1.
Yeah, I don't see us seeing this far off. And then like on the opposite side of that, they were like, we want to make instance raid type content for everybody. And it was a literal PowerPoint with a holographic image of floors. So it was like, oh, that's very far away. Okay. Yeah. Right. So
which I also noticed, I had originally thought that was the only mention of instancing throughout the entire presentation. But during the 1.0, they mentioned instancing again. And instancing, I feel like, has been a really dirty word, with the exception of hangers, has been like a super dirty word in CIG. To like never make anything instanced. Everything needs to be interactable and everyone can go into different locations. With, like, maybe we'll talk a bit about, you know, their 1.0 thoughts now. With them sort of reconcepting what a release of Star Citizen looks like, they're bringing back instancing, and I am so here for it.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why not? Like,
yeah.
I never saw the why not? Like, it just never made any sense to me. Why wouldn't you do that?
It just feels like the easiest way to get people to do like lots of content consistently. Like you don't have to mess around too much with weird interactions with other players. Like,
think about Siege of Orison. I think the moment they recognized that Siege of Orison would have been 1,000 times better as an instance experience, they were like, oh, yeah. And like, listen, I want there to be the same. I don't want everything to be instanced, but some stuff, it just makes sense. And and yeah, like raid type content where you have to like put a group together and, all right, I need like the sandworm was not this, by the way. The sandworm looked like it was an open experience and not an instance at all. But I think you could see similar sandworm like experiences where you got to bring, you know, maybe your different armor types for your FPS stuff and maybe different vehicles for ship combat stuff. And if it's not instanced, like it just gets so messy.
Yep.
It just gets so messy then. So yeah, it just never
allows them
makes sense
to cut some corners too. Which obviously a lot of other
make the game.
Yep.
Right.
But yeah, so the reason I brought up specifically instancing is, in the 1.0 presentation, when they're talking about, you know, what kind of activities do we want people to be able to do, or org specifically, was like fleet battles, instanced PvE fleet battles. Awesome, huge, right? Like, I think that's going to be a massive, massive deal. Staying on the topic of 1.0, so obviously they've changed their mind. Well, like this is the first time they've really talked about release ideas in, well, this is since far before I started playing the game. How do you feel about the we're introducing a core mission or a core like quest line pretty much, and we're introducing like a basic story
I'm
because
fine
some
with
people
it.
are really not okay with it.
Well, what I'm not okay with is and somebody in chat earlier today had a really good solution for this problem. What I'm not okay with is that the main goal of the main story quest is to gain you citizenship. What citizenship gives you is the ability to, I don't know, place a base on Microtech, which might be really valuable, or place a base in Terra, which might be really valuable, right? And what's going to happen then? I'm going to rush through the main story quest, not enjoy it at all, and place my base where I want to place it. So that's my only negative around it.
That's fair, yeah.
What somebody said in chat and what other MMOs do apparently is there'll be a time gate. So game releases with 1.0, you do your main story quest, and 1 to 2 months later, they will unlock the ability to place bases in High Sec and Stanton. So you have your time you can go through, you can do the mains. Because think about it, only sweat lords are going to be able to place bases in the desirable areas, and people who only have an hour or two a night to play will not be able to do it at all. So that immediately just ruins that. So if we have a time gate, I'm all for it. I got absolutely no problem with main story quests and MMOs. I don't know what did you see what were some people upset about?
It's just more that there's a lot of sort of reactions to just the whole 1.0 presentation in general.
Yeah.
About really the game becoming less of a milsim, right? And it's just Stars is just not going to be your game, you know.
You could say that, but I will never fault them for having that feeling, because they were told it would be for years. And it sucks. So for people who are pissed, like, they'd be pissed.
Yeah, you have the right to be pissed, but there's also not much you can do, right? Like,
but you could be pissed, but I don't know how you look at the last 5 years and go, how could they go in any other direction but this? So, like, I always knew this was coming without having any inside information. Like, if it didn't happen this way, you do not have a game.
Yeah.
Just end of story. Like, you can't make a mining ship and go, oh, you just sell the ore. You don't do anything with it. Then you end up with Elite Dangerous. You know? And I'm just like, that's not the direction they ever wanted. So I just never saw it going that direction. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, I guess. And it sucks for some people. I'm really excited, but I feel guilty being excited because people lost a lot of what they thought the game would be. And I mean, we all knew it would happen, you know?
Yep. Moving on to another thing that's part of the 1.0, which as part of my predictions, I was adamant they would not say Terra was in the first few systems. And for all of day one, I was correct. All of day one, all they announced was Castra, and that was it. And then day two, they announced Terra. I am very happy that Terra is there because it is a dope, like, lore-wise, it's very cool. It's got some great-looking biomes, once again, in the lore. We'll see how they translate to in-game. But the biggest thing first off, they announced 5 systems for 1.0, not 10, like a lot of us had thought they would go around. The 2 additional systems that we all knew it was going to be next. So Castra and Terra, the 2 other systems, interestingly enough, pretty small. Like, Pyro, in terms of planets, is the largest of all 5.
Yeah.
Terra does have 2 habitable planets, one of which has all the big landing zones, which is like Terra itself. So interesting choices. The biggest thing that sort of kicked for me on the last day, though, so we've got 3 lawful systems, 2 unlawful systems that they want for 1.0.
Yep.
In order to get to Castra, a lawful system, you
have to go through
have
Pyro,
to go
right?
through Pyro.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are forced to go through Pyro. I am so excited for that. I love that idea that you are forced to go through this risky, illegal, like non-UE area.
Yeah.
Lawless, thank you. You're risking all your cargo, all that sort of stuff you're trying to get there. Just like, that's fantastic. So I'm a huge fan of them choosing those locations.
Yeah. I think they were trying to play it coy, like it was a surprise that Terra was going to be in there after saying that the main story was going to be the battle basically between supremacy of Earth versus Terra. And
They announced Terra before the missions.
did they?
Yeah. But what they did try to play coy was Nyx.
Okay.
They were like, "Hey guys, this is a surprise. no one thought this was gonna happen."
And
yeah,
I'm gonna bring up the next video because
okay,
that blew me away. That was
as in Delamar itself, like the
yeah,
rework.
Yeah, like just from what, like, remember, I feel like it was in our pre thing, like how well do they honor what Nyx was, and how far do they bring it forward? They brought it forward.
Yep.
They brought it forward.
So once again, a location I haven't had a ton of experience in, but I'd gone a couple of times to Levski. Looks great. I'm a huge fan of it. I love the borehole.
Yeah.
I love they obviously show the external freight elevators, which they then mentioned will be at the LEOs going forward. So just new tech, but they're just showing it in the in this trailer. Looks great. Feels hidden, which is like the point, right? It's supposed to be this little tiny hidden station. Yeah, like what do you like especially about it? Like why does this feel good after the
it's
last
not
version?
A planetoid, it's an asteroid, right? Like visually it just looks cool, but they did right by it. It's what it's supposed to be. Like it always felt a little weird as like a little planetoid, right?
Yep.
And it's just visually it is serving exactly what it's supposed to be. Right. And now it comes down to, this is the other lawless system, but it's not pyro lawless. So I'm curious how all that's going to play out. What sort of, like, we know the plan for pyro resources, but we don't know the plan for Nyx and how that kind of looks and plays out. But yeah, this was wild. Morph loved it. Morph loved the locations and the whole event. I was always looking at his reaction the whole time. It was fun. And but I love this, but now it's making me, I want to go back and talk about, remember when I asked you what your favorite thing was? The thing that I pogchamped IRL was when they started talking about the shield gameplay in Pyro.
Yes. Oh my god, I completely forgot.
I was like,
went past that. There's so much stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we're gonna miss stuff today, guys. We're gonna miss stuff, and that's why we have callers, so you guys can. You're actually gonna have things where we didn't say it before you.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's gonna be good. I'm gonna bring
sovereignty essentially.
Yeah, that's in the 1.0, right?
Yeah, the 1.0 presentation, just before they show the space stations.
Yeah, we're bringing that up because that is.
Yeah. It's huge. It's a massive deal.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm in the right part of it. Yeah, here we go. The seal. This is, I was like, as he was going, I was like, this is large scale PvP. This is large scale PvP. This is org versus org stuff. This is
alliance versus alliance stuff. This is like real big stuff.
Yeah. Yes. This is the content for big orgs. Good. Yeah. Right? They need something. Solo players need something, and everybody in between needs something. But some of those things are going to be like mutually exclusive from each other. There is no 5-man org that is going to be running this show here, right? Unless they save their tokens for forever, but I don't think that's how it works. I think your tokens will reset. Tradable. Yeah, which would be weird. But
it'd be weird.
Because the items that you're gathering would be tradable, right? So that just makes sense. But I love the idea of the explanation of the lore, which is funny and it just works. Is like there's only the lore explanation is there's only so much power to go around. You buy the power with tokens. The more tokens you get, the better chance you have to have your base shielded and fully protected in a system that is lawless for a week, and then it resets. and I just love this because this takes all the trash that people have been dealing with in Stanton forever of people just want to fight. So they're fighting random people who don't want to fight. And then everyone gets mad and all this garbage that goes here, and they fight against each other and they yell at each other and they're toxic against each other and not people like, but all those people sign up for it and want to be a part of it. I love that. This is the part of the game that I want to be a part of. I may not be the one fighting, but I want to be a part of. I want to make one of the guns that won that shield that week. You know what I mean? Or
exactly.
Maybe I am fighting, but I just want to be a part of this aspect of the game. This was such a smart way of doing it. It wasn't like, oh, you own this territory and people are constantly fighting over it or whatever, right? It just felt really, really smart, modern too, not super old school, not trying to reinvent the wheel either, but just smart. Like I got nothing bad to say about it. I love this.
Yep. There's stuff I would love clarification on, but we won't get until
of course
these systems are like.
What was some of the stuff that you were a little?
So they mention, so you do these like missions or whatever to get the seal tokens, and then whichever orgs have the most amount of the seal tokens at the end of the week across all shards will get the sovereignty basically.
What we know, this is only information that we know based on very old information, is if I place a base on one shard, it's going to show up on another.
Yeah. So I want to know, like, but once again, I'm going to be on Australian shards, right?
Yeah.
When I'm playing, one, it's going to be harder for lower pop shards to get these, presumably. So I'd like to know how
Might be
they're
easier.
going to combat that, or if they're not going to combat that at all. Maybe it'll just be tough luck. You've got to be European or something.
Yeah.
So I want clarification on that, and then also, like, if I am Australian shard, and then just like all the Australian orgs get together because hey, we all know each other anyway. Honestly, what is the chances that we just control it forever on our shard? So they've got a lot of like tweaking that they're going to have to do to the system. Once we know what the system is, though.
Yes.
From Phil CIG, you have to bid, though. It's not just whoever has the most by default, but how much you're willing to bid. So you can stock them up then, Mike.
Well, not necessarily. They may reset every week, but it's the bid that you're willing to make. But yeah, I guess if you're willing to bid, then the idea here is why wouldn't you bid everything you have? Right? So
maybe you lose it.
It implies that you would be able to stock up. This is giving me PTSD of riding the train from Florida to New Jersey, where you if there were any open single bedrooms on the train, you could bid for them. Yep. And the longer the train ride went, the higher my bid was going up because I was losing my mind. Yeah. So yeah, I and then I still didn't get it because they allowed you to bid even though there weren't any bedrooms. But off topic, but I'm curious about that, and I don't think we'll know the answer, but this was my gameplay.
I also like that the sovereignty also allows you, like, you can still build your bases and stuff there without the protection and try to forward operating bases and prepare for the next week to try to fight them, or make some deals with the people that do have the shields so that you can operate there. So this is where a lot of like dynamic PvP gameplay comes into it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was good to hear that they were doing it.
Yeah, it's just that is the one that I'm hyper focused on. Like you can make crafting, you can make base rating, you can make sandworms, you could make ship insurance, you could say everything you did in 1.0, but if there isn't this large competition, I guess, going on at some point, it all is meaningless. This adds the meaning.
Progression.
Yeah, this adds the meaning and not I wouldn't use the word progression, but I know what you're getting at. It's like every day is going to be a new experience. Every day is I'm always competing against people, and there's always something to do and all that stuff. This adds that meaning for me. That's it. Right? This was it, because it's all just a solo game if you're crafting by yourself or whatever, even if you're crafting for your friends. it's all meaningless if they're not people aren't using this for like this. I guess competition or resource or control or whatever, right? It's that feeling of playing Eve and knowing what all that means and seeing how it is and wanting that here. And this is that.
Yeah.
So in a better way, I think.
And then perhaps a good jumping off point from there is the next big thing about it is space stations. So
this drove me mad.
It drove you mad?
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But this is the only thing that I felt super negative about at Citizencon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. Go for it. Go first.
We're getting base building, so I'm keen for this. It's just base building in space, right? Which is always very cool. I like obviously the idea that we can specialize them into refining or cargo or military or whatever. So sweet. They're not too large if you actually look at them, at least on scale in the video.
The space stations, right?
They are the space stations. Yeah.
I'll agree with you, but that's my pain point. That's my pain point, though. So I'll hold that and just everybody keep that, but continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I love this idea. I do want to point out though that it should require a crazy amount of resources to do this sort of thing. As always, to reference Eve, the best space game of all time. The really big stations are insanely expensive.
Yeah.
They cost a lot to run continuously as well. And when people were first getting into it as well, it took a really long time. So like they were a
now they pop up
to do
all the time.
Yeah, now that the Eve economy is famous for the first Titan took 6 months to build. Now there's like battles where 5,000 Titans die, right? So but as long as it is like that, where it does require a lot of resources, a lot of running time, I'll be fine with it. My only other thing that I do need them to do with this is similar to Eve. If you attack my space base, it needs to have like a recovery time or like a hey, you've attacked it.
Offline
it is now
rating
vulnerable,
is
but
cringe.
But you can't. Exactly. Offline rating is trash. You can 100% instigate it, but then I need to know when I'm actually going to be needed to fight because kind of like what you were saying before, Billy, who can only play 2 hours a week, it's just shit out of luck.
Yep. That's going to have to be the way they go. And I'm going to pause it right where it ended there a little bit. I'm in agreement with you. If they stopped here, actually, if they stopped like here somewhere in the middle where all the base building of the station was done internally, a couple of things off the sides like the refinery or the cargo deck and stuff like that, I was all okay at that point. But when they did this,
the connecting of the space stations,
when they did this first, and then when they did the connection of the space stations, I went, oh, I understand what's going on here. You're trying to get a big reaction from something that you have no idea if you're capable of doing it in your engine or not, right? It was like, okay, one that looks like that, yes. Like, hangar bay makes sense. Refinery bay makes sense. A place where you build ships makes sense. Like, if you're going to do space stations, you have to have these things. Yes. The moment they did this is when I went, yep, this is all fake. They have no idea if they could do this. And they are doing what they do best. And that is putting things out there and just trying to do something sensational without having any idea if they can do it. And they lost me completely. They lost me completely with this.
It's concepting. So of course, this is the year of concepting for base building. So that all tracks. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure, I'll call it speculating for what we'll probably talk about in a few minutes, and why you can't do this shit anymore, and why the CIG reacted the way they did. If you want, we can go right into it and talk about the galaxy and the base building drama, because I think it really relates to this. Before
we do,
please,
I'll just mention. I will say connected bases feel like a logistical nightmare for gameplay. To make it work well.
Do you see an 890 jump? It looks like an ant.
Yeah, there's big stuff in the game.
All right.
The building of the Bengal, I really like the idea of. People like of the idea before was that you would be like repairing Bengals that you found out in the wild, right? That were like leftovers from wars and stuff like that. I am much more keen on this idea because at least it's a solid idea. However, I would also want this to be the place that you could theoretically build javelins, but whatever large ship doesn't
Yeah.
apply to the base.
You have to be able to build
hangars.
those huge ships. The Bengal is whatever, but the things like the Javelin and the Idris, I think.
Yeah.
No, only having purchased those on the website or in game is silly when you can craft everything else, right? So
yeah, you need to have a tier 5 Javelin, right?
Yeah. So having it at the space station just makes sense. But
and the Bengal needs to be, if it is Bengals that we can craft, this needs to be multiple months of getting the materials, getting the blueprints, researching the blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hundreds of people are working to do it, and then cool. I think that's mostly fine, especially because realistically, I think vehicles like that, even the Javelin to most extents, we'll obviously see once we have proper big PvP fleet battles. But I think it's mostly going to be for the PvE stuff. You're mostly going to be bringing these sort of ships to the big instanced fleet battles.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I think we're guessing right now, but
oh, for sure.
I hope so. I think that would be cool. Or some of the big instance fleet battles, but hopefully there's also small instance fleet battles and so on. But whatever. I want to talk about this and get this out of the way because this was the drama shit. But I think it
the 8 hours of terror on Spectrum.
but I think it plays really well into what they did here, and how I feel about it is John Crew goes on Spectrum because everyone was like, "Where's?" Oh, I almost brought up the wrong scene. Where's the galaxy? Where's the galaxy? Where's the galaxy? That was supposed to build bases, and he says, "Oh, this is the response." Hold on. I have the other one here. So this was the original one. We plan to talk more about this at IAE, and that's generally where we give big updates across manufacturers, but a lot of people are discussing this topic at the moment, so I want to give some clarification. There are no current plans to have a base building module for the Galaxy. That doesn't mean that there never will be, but there is nothing concepted when you showed the Galaxy at Citizencon last year and said this is what it would do. Right?
Yeah.
And so naturally, people spent money on a ship thinking it was going to do something. It's pretty fucked up. The Starlancer BLD will be the ship you can build large structures with when the base building is available in game. How much is the Starlancer BLD was my initial reaction. If it's $20 more than the base Galaxy, that's another thing that's screwed up, right? Because now you're getting people to melt their Galaxy and spend $20 extra on the Starlancer BLD. We don't know the price of it at this time.
Yeah, not the only until I.
Yep, exactly. The only confirmed module, in addition to the ones on the pledge store, is the manufacturing module. The general rule of thumb is this is where everybody lost their minds, and deservedly so. Is for all things vehicle, is unless it's on the pledge store or available in game, treated as speculative. I think it's not just for all things vehicle. I think they honestly feel for all things Star Citizen. If it's not in the game, it's speculative, right? And then you get the information. Perseus is the next RSI ship, which I think everybody knew, and purely down to the greater percentage of shared assets with the Polaris. Cool. Okay. I lost my shit because this is straight up lying at that point, right? You have I know it was Todd Pappy versus Richard Tyrer, but you had Todd Pappy go up on the stage and say, this is going to build a large ship. And you had people spend money on it, right?
Yeah.
That is not okay. Right? And then where I will take this for the base building discussion or the space station discussion is everything about Star Citizen is in the same vein now because you laid out your plans for 1.0. So now you have set your stuff relatively in stone. Obviously, things can change a little bit, but you have set yourself in stone, and you now need to achieve those things. What you showed on the screen at the end of CitizenCon, you do not know if you can achieve, but you showed it anyway. And I know you don't know if you can achieve it. There is absolutely no shot because we don't have server meshing yet. They don't know the limitations of anything. It is impossible for them to know if they can do that. It's just logic. They hope that they can do that. They think they can do that, but they don't know. Right? So then it's the same concept of everything is speculative. So I'm supposed to take your this is what 1.0 thing is and take it all as speculation now. It's just stupid. Right? So I made a video right away as soon as I saw this and said, this isn't okay. And I tried to stay relatively calm, and I used the word lying because it essentially is, right? You went on stage, said one thing was going to happen, and you sold an entirely another ship to do it. It's messed up. Called that out. It blew up, got way more views than I was ever expecting it to. And obviously the community was blowing up at the same time. And they instantly reacted to it, right? Instantly. Like it was within 6 hours.
I said, pretty much the whole thing is within like 8 hours.
Yep.
Like it was real quick.
And I'm the type of person is if you do me wrong, if you do something that I feel is wrong, or just everyone feels is wrong, and you apologize, I'm usually okay with it. I just go, okay, no problem. I'll say no problem. But I won't forget what you did. And I'll never forget.
That's the big thing, right?
Right? Yeah. And that's what a lot of people didn't quite get is that like about my second video on this is like, all right, cool, no problem. Doesn't mean that
you can do it again.
You can do it again, or I trust you, or the hold on, let me ban somebody in chat real quick. Okay.
Wait, which
done.
one? Which one? Oh.
The like anyway. Yeah, the idea of any of this stuff being okay. It's not okay to do this, right? So I'm not saying it's okay. Now, a lot of people are saying like he didn't apologize. For me personally, the second paragraph is an apology.
Yeah, literally the first sentence and like
No, because the first sentence people are taking as people didn't understand what I was saying. You know,
no, I mean of the second paragraph.
Oh yeah. Like, okay, yeah. My earlier comment about when things are speculative was incorrect. Like that is admitting fault. That's enough for an apology for me personally. Is admitting your fault. So I'm okay with that. You admit your faults, do better. But from this point forward, around everything around 1.0, around everything around spaceships that you want to spend money on, this is the type of reaction that you should be getting, CIG, when you do your community wrong, and you shouldn't be surprised when people get pissed off about this stuff. People spent $380 on a spaceship that will not do what they thought it was going to do. That's crazy. Now, I know the module wasn't sold, but the ship was, you know? So it's like, you can't do stuff like that. You just can't do shit like that. It's not okay.
Yeah. At first, I was like, once I heard it, I was like, I don't care that much. It's the manufacturing model, whatever. And then I realized that, the literal display on here is this, it does this size modules. Here is this does this size modules, whatever. And the thing is,
there was no other ships there.
Well, it was like the Pioneer, the Galaxy, and then like the ground, like a ground vehicle. I think that was it. I think they could have, if they didn't want the Galaxy to be a base building module, like actively, they could have done it over the last couple of months. I think this is just purely an oversight.
Yeah.
And then now they have to make it, right?
Yeah. And they didn't want to. And that's where I'm like, forgive but don't forget. Like hey, he apologized. He said, hey, I was wrong.
Yeah.
But what you can't forget is that this man is the lead of all spaceships. He was a part of the decision making for this. And the Starlancer BLD is very far along. This ship was in production for minimum 3 to 6 months. You knew that this was going to be a thing 3 to 6 months ago. Why didn't you tell us then? Why didn't you say, hey, we're making this new ship, no name, no manufacturer, we're not going to tell you what it is, that we're not really thinking we're going to be able to do the Galaxy as a base building ship. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell that ship at the exact same price as the Galaxy, so you're able to swap over to it if that's what you wanted. Done and dusted, right? But you waited a year and said, you know, just, oh, we're not doing it. and we have no plans. Get out of here, bro. You can't do that. You can't do that. And I hope they learn their lesson, and they should never do it again. But they will.
Yep.
They'll screw up again because they're human, and it happens. And if they apologize, you should probably accept their apology. If they don't and they double down, like I've seen some people at the company do, Jared has done it a few times for sure, they should get what they get for it is you just get it right. You know, it's been 12 years. You got to start getting things right now.
Mhm.
And that's just my feelings on it.
One big part of 1.0 is the community also needs to have like higher standards with a lot of these releases too, right? That's the real 1.0.
Yep, exactly. So you can't expect to have high quality releases with 4.0 right now. You can't go, all right, you talked about 1.0, 4.0 has to be perfect. That's not how this works. It's going to be a process, but as we approach the mechanics of 1.0, they have to come in more polished. They have to have higher standards, and we have to hold them to those high standards. The only issue here is if it doesn't affect the money, they typically don't care to respond to community outrage. Think master modes. Master modes has some effect on the money, but it's way more an effect on the game, and they don't seem to be doing much in that regard. But if it is your spaceship that you spent money on, then they tend to go a little bit more reactive to it. So I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, the people are naming a bunch of ships in chat that are that have been killed, but they've been killed after they've been sold the same way the Galaxy has. And yeah. Those ships are out.
Speaking of ships,
you want to talk
let's
Pioneer?
talk about all the ships in the ship talk.
All the ships?
Oh, well, there's only
one.
3.
There's only one.
Well, so you've got the Star Lancer. Obviously, that was the big one of like completely brand new ship.
You want to talk to me about that one? Because I saw that and just went. Yep. I literally tuned out, and I haven't even rewatched the panel. I do not care about that ship whatsoever.
I think it's cool. It's not cool enough to make me want it. It's just a big freelancer. I tend to not really like MISC ships in general, just because they deliberately look shit. Like they are designed to not be the most aesthetically pleasing. No, it still looks dumb. Looks stupid.
Fair.
In a good way. In that I like that they do those.
What do you think about this?
Because so the Argo CSV we had found out about like a couple of days before. People were able to spawn it in Evocati. And I think it's cool, but why can't the mule do this?
Because this is
right?
$10, $15 more. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same old song and dance, dude. Because they could charge more.
Yeah, but I like truck cool.
Yep.
I will never use it because I have a Pioneer, but truck cool. The thing, just going back to the Star Lancer though, the thing that I find weird, why does the TAC version exist? It feels like just a worse version of so many ships.
Why does the ship exist? Why does it exist
for the build
at all?
Right?
Yeah,
I imagine it exists purely for the build, and then it's just, hey, we'll chuck some variants on there because variation is good. But I don't like ships where I'm just like, I would just never drive this ever.
I have never had less feelings about a ship in my entire time following Star Citizen than this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool, but yeah, doesn't interest me.
It's just another of the same. And I think what is happening now is this an aesthetically pleasing version of this class of ship for you? Like, what is this, more like Connie, right, sized?
Yeah, it's like a weird
if
Connie,
you don't like
Carrick mix sort of thing.
Yeah, like if you don't like the Connie or the Carrick, maybe you'll like this. Like that's sort of what's going on. Is if you're a MISC fan, then you have your MISC version of these. Mm-hmm. Or yeah, like 600i, right? Like those kind of.
That's probably a better comparison.
Yep. So like, if you're in that range, then you're just like, oh, visually, I approve. I appeal to this ship, and then they're giving you the visual, the visual choice of what you like versus, this ship does this. They're going to these ships do this.
Yep.
More like. Yep. So that's just the way I look at it, and I love MISC ships. like I love the Prospector and I love the Hull A and I love the Hull
Mhm.
C. The Freelancer series, not so much, and this is maybe a little too Freelancer for me, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the biggest part, at least for me, for the ship talk was the Pioneer concept. Obviously, with them talking about crafting, finally concepting crafting and base building, the Pioneer needs to make some type of sense. And so
Dude.
they did a bunch of changes to it, and I am huge fan
Okay,
of the
hold on
changes.
though. Can
Yep,
we talk about how you weren't this was day 2, right? So you weren't
this was day
there.
2. Yeah, so I was watching on my phone.
Oh my god. Okay, so this was the original concept.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right? Looks cool. Then they showed this,
Yep.
and the air literally came out of the room. Everyone was like, "Oh." Like the room got nobody clapped.
It looks the same as the original concept. It's just that photo that you saw just then. That's it with the hangar open, deploying a base. So it still looks like this pretty much.
I'm not gonna crap on it because they just chose the first image as a really weird angle.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yep.
So people are like, "Ooh," it because it looks smaller. It looks like stubby. It just there's less like height to it. It just like everything looks like a little bit weird. And then they go to the top down and you're like, all right, that's cool. That's cool. I like it. All right. So yeah, like it was just like a weird angle and it looked really bad. And then people started warming up to the ship again immediately after they went to this. It was like, oh, okay. And what got me was I don't need to build a space station.
Yeah,
if I have this,
this is your space station.
If I'm an industry player, like I basically have a space station, right?
Yep.
With this, so
huge
yeah,
fan
it was
of it.
cool.
Huge fan of the landing pad, which is obviously going to be useful for first off you bringing materials into the Pioneer, so you can actually construct stuff, but also so that when you construct a ship, it can leave and you can actually fly it away from the Pioneer, as it has, I believe they said, a small hangar fabricator, so you can make small ships on the Pioneer. I'm a huge fan of how they've done it. It also has, I believe, 3 like regular fabricators in the front section, so it literally is just a flying factory, and that's all I ever really wanted. Is to be able to do that. It then does have the added caveat that they made it that you can only make star bases with the Pioneer. But that is so far down the road that it's not really super relevant at the moment. It was also, so they did a quick one. No concept ships this year. Everything that they talked about is being released either at IAE or already was. Right.
Oh, so for the rest of 2024.
Well, the Star Lancers are coming at IAE. The Perseus is coming. Sorry, the Polaris is coming at IAE. The only one that they mentioned that was this year that wasn't coming, I think, was the not the Intrepid, the other one. The Mirai,
hacking,
the big Mirai one.
No, the hacking ship.
Well, that's not coming at all. I'm saying the Mirai Guardian was the only one that they said wasn't coming at IAE because they show you the ones that are coming at IAE.
Yeah. Okay. But
anyway,
coming
the
this
reason
year.
I wanted to mention that is they did show all of the ones that they are working on in the next 12 months. Notice they changed their wording this year compared to last year to we are working on over the next 12 months rather than releasing.
It says the next 12 months,
which is crazy. Well, they say literally just before that.
Gotcha.
Says, here are the ones that we will be working on.
So we know we saw this, the CSV.
Yep. This is some weird new truck thing.
Looks like an Ursa, but with big wheels.
Cool.
Another Atlas platform.
Spartan.
Yeah.
Probably building.
A Hornet. We know those. Those are the Super Hornets and the other variants of the Hornets.
Martus.
Yep. That's the one with the top thing. This I have no idea.
The Medical Terrapin.
Medical Terrapin. Okay.
Yep. Which is also coming at IAE. This is the Mirai Guardian, which they said is coming towards the end of this year, but it wasn't in the IAE section.
So. Pausing here because what?
Yeah.
What?
So everyone has their opinions. Clearly,
people are calling it a salvage prospector.
Clearly, this is a new racing ship. That beam is very, very similar to both the I don't remember which salvage beam, but one of the salvage beams and one of the mining beams.
Yeah, it's a helix. Is shaped like a
Yeah,
helix.
right.
But it has the
Everyone's
second
saying it's
thing.
misc. Those legs are not misc. Those are so not misc. So I have no idea. I am just saying everyone's wrong instead. But either way, it's a new industry ship, regardless. So
Yeah.
always keen on that.
Interesting. It's got to be misc with that front, but yeah.
Yeah.
And those are definitely misc engines, but then the big stuff.
That is the that's the Apollo.
This is
the half Corsair.
Yeah, like what was that?
It's the Drake core.
Yeah, just core. The Drake
I reckon
core.
it'll be Drake Heavy Fighter is where I'm at for that.
Okay,
as that is something that they're missing in their lineup that would make some sense to get. So we'll have a look at that. This is probably the new Crusader ship, because they did show some of the other ones that are coming out.
Yeah, they sneak peeked a Crusader ship at some point.
Yeah.
That's the BLD or whatever.
Yep. And then
Perseus,
crazy. But we don't stop there. Iron Chad. What the fuck? Okay. And then
that's got to piss people off. That's got to piss people off. Yeah, it was like a recent concept that is just skipping other people, but I think it's just makes sense to be in the game, and I mean, I have it, so I want it.
And it doesn't feel like it needs crazy tech to work, right? It's just a giant cargo hold.
Yeah, and they don't have to have the thing detach, and then the Pioneer obviously at the end, which is
so
sick.
Those are all the ones getting worked on in the next 12 months.
Finished? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But you know, it means we'll see some amount of some of those, like I said, we will be seeing next month at IE, and then I imagine we'll see some of those, next year at some point. It'd be great to see the Iron Chad. I think that's probably the most realistic one of the big ones there to come out next year.
Sure. Yeah. I'm happy about that. That's what I want. The game's gone away from what I loved about it. Yeah, the RSI Apollo's there. Apparently, everybody was yelling at us.
Yeah, I said the Apollo. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the direction. Like the Ironclad was. I was so hyped about it because so much of the content was pirating people in space, and it was like the perfect for that. But then they went the direction of all the cargo stuff, which is now most of the cargo is on planets, and the Ironclad is not as good for that from what I can see. Yeah, no. So I was super hyped for it, and now a little less now that we know more about how cargo works. But yeah, I don't know anything else sticking out. Like, before we move to callers, what were your being there experiences like? Like talking to people, what was it like to be a Citizencon goer?
Mike, it is really weird being a niche micro celebrity for Star Citizen.
Oh yeah,
it was crazy.
Odd. It happened to me in 2016
for photos and stuff.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Crazy amounts of people from the Answer the Call podcast. So hello to all of you that came and said hello and
sorry I wasn't there.
I'm not.
Me neither. I'm gonna be honest. I was very happy being at home.
Yeah, it was awesome in terms of like actual convention. Way better than last year. Like the environment, the center itself, all the decorations they did were awesome. Having the community booths could have had more space between them, but having them all be 32 SU boxes of MISC and Argo and whatever was very, very cool. Having the bar, like just the small effort things they went into, the bars there, they had all the drinks at the back and they were all the on-brand in-game drinks.
That's sick.
And like titled correctly and stuff. It was so cool. And so that was absolutely insane. As well as just like the way that they did, other than the Friday night bar citizen, the way that they did the bar citizens over the course of the week and getting so many opportunities to actually meet up with people, it became like a big festival almost. So it was insanely cool. So without a doubt, at the very least, it was. But of the two Citizen Cons I've been to, it was certainly the most memorable.
Nice. I'm glad you had fun, and Thank you for streaming the line at the beginning.
Oh, that's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
I will definitely stream that stuff going forward, but I learned a lot of stuff during that stream. My phone mic is garbage.
Yep.
The stick that I'm using, I'm doing this the whole time
Yep.
and shaking all over the place. The internet there was terrible.
Yeah.
I tried to show everyone, if you didn't know, in the community booths, there was a bunch of prop devs that were making some of the stuff that you get from the digital goodies pack. There was a Vandal skull, a worm plushie, and I don't remember what the third thing was. But I couldn't even show that to everyone because it was just so deep into the convention center that no internet existed. But that was certainly good fun too.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I was like, everybody go over there and support Croncy while we were watching it. And I was like, yeah, everybody was really cool apparently and showed you some love, which was nice.
They did, yeah.
Outside of that, like as being at home and watching, it was pretty darn good. I want to say like the production in terms of like the between the panel stuff, they were making jokes with each other. It was really fun. They did a lot of merch selling ads, which was I thought was like a little weird. But outside of that, I thought the show was like put together really well and it was enjoyable to watch. My only feedback and criticism would be don't start with the panel you started with because it put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Like Americans are waking up at 2:00 in the morning to watch this thing. Like you're not going to keep us engaged with that. So you gotta come with something stronger in the beginning. Maybe just straight
or
up
if
come
you do
with the
have that video where they were in the weather
first,
have
and
that
then show how you
and then
build
be
it.
like, and here's how we made it.
Yeah. Just hit me with something hard at the beginning because I needed a boost. I was struggling by the end, and it was the longest panel too. So it was like that was tough. That would be my only feedback from the whole event. But I'm ready to go to colors if you are.
Like there's one way more important thing that we have to talk about that we haven't talked about at all.
Oh shit, what?
Squadron 42.
Oh crap.
So firstly, everyone was wrong. Mark Hamill did not appear.
No.
Literally every person was wrong. On the first day, as we were waiting in the queue, like Jared was like out there trying to like entertain everyone while we were like waiting for 20 extra minutes. He was going like, "Hey guys, don't let anyone force you to miss the redacted panel." And then like in the Dress to Kill and in the like the location ones, they had like little Star Wars snippets and stuff. It was like, oh, okay. Clearly this is happening. It still didn't happen. So yeah, an hour and 20-ish minutes of Squadron 42's start. Essentially the entire prologue from what we can tell, I imagine at least, because you can sort of sense that it would move from there into like a flight tutorial.
It spoils nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like all of this is stuff that we either knew or was like very easy to speculate story-wise.
Yep.
It was cool for the most part. I had an opinion that I mentioned to you guys when I called in that day that I thought the cinematics and the gameplay was too long. I take that back. I watched it again today. I wrote down the times for like everything that happened. And if anytime anything felt like too long, I made sure I just typed in a thing like, you know, it's getting old type thing.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's mostly okay. The longest cutscene is 14 minutes. And it's the section where the Squadron 42 come out.
Yeah.
And the longest gameplay section is 20 minutes, which is the FPS section where you're crawling and you're EVAing and stuff.
Well, and so he's also going through that kind of slower than a normal gamer would probably.
Exactly, yeah. Not to mention during the live, they crashed twice, one of which during the 14-minute cutscene. Yep. So it's like, all right, well, we're going to get back to the start of that one.
Yeah.
So I will take that back as a matter of record. I think it was fine. My now only gripe with the tutorial and whatnot, which will probably be a thing that gets fixed, is every time the player character killed a Vandal ship, it just looked weird. It looked off. The ship like decides to like, you know, start tumbling over this way.
Oh, like an animation played?
Sense. Yeah, it was really weird.
You can just go to that. Oh, yeah, I see like kind of arcadey almost. I just saw it real quick.
So that was a little strange, but other than that, like, this is a good intro to a video game. Like, it is appropriately epic. The score, now that it's been actually recorded, or the parts have been recorded and
Shown,
whatnot.
yeah.
Insane, really, really cool. Yeah, I was a big fan of it after I after I reevaluated the time.
Yeah. The just being a Wing Commander fan, like this is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what people were expecting, but lots of cutscenes, lots of story,
Mhm.
lots of sitting and shooting at things, but not, not like epic sweaty gamer stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
you're playing through the story essentially. It's a
Which also it is the tutorial. Like
yeah.
in terms of like the Vandal being you know, trying not to die. No, their goal in the tutorial is to die as quickly as possible so that you can learn the mechanics. I imagine, or at least I hope, that the actual like flight mechanics, once we get into actual missions, they're a lot harder to fight against.
Yeah, and this was on like Legatus level too, and it looked pretty simple, but
I've heard from multiple people the difficulty was irrelevant.
fair
Not
enough.
from any devs, to be fair, so it's probably also just speculation, but yeah.
Yeah, certainly didn't look too difficult, but regardless, it looked awesome, and it was a tutorial. It's not supposed to be difficult, and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like you're doing your thing. But I loved the way it looked. It gave me Wing Commander exactly how I thought it would be, and it was everything and more than I thought it would be, and that I'm good with it. Can't wait for it. But still, my laser focus is always on SC. I forgot about Squadron 42 altogether for this podcast, right? And I have not rewatched this actually. I just I already saw it, and I just want to like for this game, I really just want it to come out, and I want to turn it on, and I want to just play it, and that's it. Like I don't want to put as much effort into this as I put into Star Citizen, because I ruin Star Citizen for myself on a regular basis. I'd rather not ruin this for myself.
Did you get mad? I got mad a little bit that Chris set a date. He said a year.
Oh, 12 to 18 months for Star Citizen stuff. I was just like,
no,
this
for this
guy...
he said, well, this got me mad more of just him saying 2026 and having the thing be 2026.
Oh no, I'm not mad about that at all.
Achievable, but
it's so
like,
vague.
I don't believe it.
I don't know. I don't know. I was thinking more like 2025. I think it's like open-ended 2 years from now is like pretty open-ended. My thing is for like the base building and stuff, he said 12 to 18 months at Citizencon, and I was just like, bruh, why?
18 to 24
just
months,
stop talking, dude. You got through the whole thing without anybody saying it. Just stop talking. This guy, he can't help it.
Yep.
It's why we don't see him. We only see him once a year, because if we saw him all the time, he would just continuously say stupid shit that they can't deliver. It's so dumb. But yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. The literal last thing I want to touch on before we go to callers is the Enter Atmosphere event. So this was our first time doing a in-person, live, like essentially like arena tournament for Star Citizen, and it went
Before
really
you go,
well.
I screwed up so bad. I was like, oh, I'm gonna raid a random Star Citizen streamer. It wasn't anybody random. I think it was 5-star. I can't remember who I rated, but I was like, I really should have rated that event, and I didn't. And I was like, well, whatever.
It's fine. You can deal with Crucian.
Yeah, so I apologize to you, Crucian. I was barely alive at the end of it, and I was like, let's just go offline because I'm tired. And
it felt super
thinking.
cool. It felt super awesome. Like the racing went off without a hitch.
Nice.
We didn't get Star Citizen once during the racing, and we consistently got Star Citizen during the Final Flight Championships. But as an event itself, it was so cool. So yeah,
I caught a little bit of the combat one, and it was cool. You're a great commentator. I don't want to blow smoke up your butt, but it's fun.
Cyberfox, who was I think he's commentated once or twice for XGR. This was his first time commentating for Atmo, and he was replacing Splen as Splen got sick just before the event. By far the best commentator in Star Citizen, not even close.
Nice.
And he will never admit it. He is very self-conscious about it, but by far the best. He crushed it.
Hell yeah. Nice. Well, I think I'm okay. Like, before we go to callers, That's all of Citizencon, right? Sorry, callers. And by the way, for Artecius, you're number 1 in the caller list. But Jorunn 2 days ago said he wanted to talk, and I said I'd save him a spot. So we're going to bring Jorunn in first, and then we'll go to our standard call list. So like I saved a spot for him, but I didn't tell him that we moved the show forward, so he didn't know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the next 12 to 18 months after watching this? How, like, this was a weird one. Like we talked about earlier, this was like concept citizen. Like it was a lot of stuff like intentions and all these things, but not coming in the next patch. A lot of it, right?
Yeah,
So
very different to the last 3 Citizencons, where it was all like, this is stuff happening soon. It was instead, this is stuff that has to be concepted, which that's cool, but that meant that we didn't see much, you know?
Yeah, I feel so good. I feel at peace with what the game is going to be. Like I watched some like hater YouTube video the other day of some guy being like commenting about me on this podcast, I believe, saying like I really hope Star Citizen is the game I want it to be, and he made some comment of like nobody gives a shit what you want the game to be or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's fine, but I'm like, all I'm saying is like I just wanted the game to be like I want to enjoy the game, right? And I feel like I can enjoy the game now. And I feel really good about what I saw. Is like, okay, they get the type of game that I want, so I'm going to stick around, and I have a really fun time to watch them build it now going forward, I think.
Yeah. I got a big impression, and once again, luckily, because I got to talk to some of the devs too, I got like the impression a little bit more, but that they wanted to make a game that I want to enjoy.
Exactly. Right? Like they're just as passionate about it. Dude, Zach jumped out of the worm panel, walked out of the building, and got on a Discord call with me and nice. And Level, and just wanted to keep talking about it. Like that's the passion these guys have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And all of the ideas that, you know, those devs I have seen, especially after the Citizencon, that they have for all that content, like it once again solidifies that they're making something I want to play.
Yeah.
I will say, and that did make me happy. But in terms of the next, like, you know, 12 months of development, I did have to bring myself back and be like, 4.0 is in Evo. We are at 4.0. Yep. This is the big patch right now. I need to get myself back into that headspace.
Yeah, get out of
get
this.
Excited for it, honestly, because it is a big deal.
Yeah,
it's just like it feels like the entire Citizencon because, of course, we had to skip it. So I'm in that headspace at the moment. By the way, screw you, CRG. Stop doing Evo builds when I can't play.
I know. Stop doing it on the weekends like this. They have to, but I'm like, I want to like watch a movie.
Jump. Like, I just want to jump.
I want to watch a movie with my wife. Like,
anyway.
Yeah. So it's been a funny time the last few weeks, but I'm glad that they're grinding and trying to really get this stuff out. Yes. But yep, I'm feeling like just before we finish up I'm feeling very similar of I got to get back in the current Star Citizen headspace, but I'm staying in the current Star Citizen headspace with the future in mind. Like I said about like playing with my org, it's like, all right, well now what's fun is trying to work towards those systems.
Yeah. How many people, myself included, have in the last couple of days been like, oh
all
shit,
right, org,
I actually have
let's
to plan
go.
out what I'm going to do with my org now. Like, the stuff's going to happen eventually. So
yeah. So I don't know. I see Jorunn asked, what's your time speculation for 1.0? Minimum 3 years. Like there's no way. That is so much
I don't
stuff.
see it happening before Squadron.
No shot.
With what they want 1.0 to be.
Yeah. Years. Many years. So it's just going to be a slow burn and early on a brutal one of instability and problems and all sorts of things like that.
And balancing. A lot of the stuff that they talked about for 1.0 is going to be like they're going to need to balance pretty heavily. Many
years from now, but I just hope that the game is enjoyable day in and day out many years before that, because it can be. It can still be an alpha and be on like a daily driver kind of game before 1.0 happens. I just hope it's sooner than later. Doubt it, but hope so. So anyway, ready for some callers?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into some callers.
All right, I have to do everything manually, so I'm going to bring Jorunn's thing up. I can't just press buttons, and I'm going to bring him in. Hello, Jorunn. No cam
doing,
though.
Jorunn?
Okay, because I won't be able to bring it up. But
Problem. That's okay because I slept in and I didn't get a shower, so it's better this way.
perfect. Me neither. All right. So
Good
what did you
morning,
want to
guys.
talk about? Oh my
Hi.
god, I got you at
Yes.
200% volume, Jorunn. Let me bring you down. Whoa, sorry everybody watching.
Sound is hard, right?
Yes.
Real quick,
Go ahead. I'll preface just a tiny bit. Is during the whole Galaxy drama, Jorunn was like, "I want to talk. I'm mad," and I was like, "I got the perfect time for you to talk." So that's why we're letting him skip the line, because this was the other day.
Well, and it's out of character for me, right? Everybody
Yeah.
knows me as one of the community White Knights. Although I have been saying since I haven't been a true pure White Knight since 2018. I've got plenty of things to complain about. I just take a little different, bigger picture, longer term perspective. It's really hard for gamers. Like, yeah, this has been a really long marathon, and we've got 5 to 7 years more, right?
Yep.
Real quick, speaking of the bar citizens that Croncy was able to attend, I want to give a quick plug for that because still so many people don't know what bar citizen is. You got to experience it there in its grandeur, Croncy, barcitizen.sc. It is a website. It's on a temporary website right now. We've got a new organization that is working to redo the website, build it up. We've got Discords all over the world, so you can go to the website, find upcoming events. If there's no upcoming events, find a Discord for your local regional bar citizen groups. Get involved with your local real life communities, and we have more meetups all the time. They're going on every weekend around the world. CIG is going to a bunch of these. They're very committed to that. Get to go to a bar
Never
citizen.
Australia. They never come to Australia.
They have been, but not in a long time. I expect that they probably will. They've been doing their Asia tour. I will talk to Tyler about that because I talk with Tyler and Jake about the coordination between their going to some of these. So hopefully they will get out to Australia. Australia does have plenty of bar citizens,
and it was their huge it was one of their hugest fan bases for a long time, right? Like I remember them saying it was like US, Germany, and Australia were like their big fan bases early on in the development of the game. I remember them saying something like that.
One of their big presentations was at PAX Oz as well. Like early on, like 2014.
That's when they went out there.
Continue.
Okay, so there's the Bar Citizen plug. Everybody go check that out. My backstory for folks who don't know who I am, I represent not just the Jump Club. Mike, I want to clarify that. I know I'm often referred to as the guy who represents the whales. I am not just about whales. Yes, I did found the 890 Jump Club, which are the 890 owners. I've got 600 to 900 owners. But then I also have the Yacht Club, which is for everybody. Like I represent everybody. I'm part of Bar Citizen. So I try to take a broad perspective, but I do have this perspective of dealing on a day-to-day basis since 2017 with some of the whale type people. And I know everybody resents the whale type people.
No, thank you for funding our game. Why would we?
They're super passionate, and they represent a pretty broad spectrum from just people who have extra money and they're addicted to spaceships, and then there's people that are org owners. So it was very interesting seeing a breadth of reactions from these folks that represent mega orgs to folks that's like, holy shit, I've got $10,000-$20,000 worth of spaceships. Most of them are large spaceships, and I was expecting to be able to at least putter around in the verse with some NPC crew when I'm not doing stuff with an org. And then with my other group, which has smaller ships, the lack of NPC crews was probably one of the biggest gut blows to everyone.
I was surprised to see that. Yeah.
I was surprised, and really made me think because I don't know if you guys have touched on the fact that we haven't seen Tony Zervik since 2021.
I mean, you're not going
I was
to at this
expecting
point. If you didn't see him, you're not going to.
Friend from Citizencon's past to be Tony. and for him to walk out on stage and start talking.
I mean,
I was
Space
surprised.
Tomato said that like some people from his community saw him in Texas and they asked if he still worked there, and he said yes, but like, I mean, that's not like he doesn't have his hand on a Bible, so who knows?
He's just gonna come out one day and just be like, "So anyway, guys, Quanto is finished, and it's implemented right now. Go."
Yeah.
I think one of the issues, and this is one of my biggest problems with where IC 1.0 going. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm super excited that we have a vision for what the initial released game is going to be. A lot of things are very different from what everybody was expecting. Tony Zervik has been our guiding messiah. Everybody knows Chris Roberts. Everybody does. But probably less than 5% of the community really knows who Tony Zervik was, and that he was really the guy who was architecting Chris's dream and turning it into a reality. And also, most of us had the faith that he was going to turn it into something that was not going to be a first-person Eve. Croncy, you seem to have liked Eve.
Me too.
I know an awful lot of people who don't like what Eve became because it was so imbalanced. You mentioned the Titans, where it's like, well, they were supposed to be rare, and well, they're not, because it is completely impossible to balance an MMO economy from what we have seen from every game out there. I don't know, Mike, you've played a lot more games than I have. I'm not really a gamer, but I study this as a part-time job now these days. No company going back to Richard Garriott, Ultima, and there's a YouTube interview of him. It is impossible for them to balance MMO economies. New World was a very recent, very glaring instant failure.
I mean, New World was that was just a mistake.
That was bad.
Yeah, there's just so many more mistakes that happen with that than just the economy on that one, right? But yeah, continue, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah. So for those who don't understand, a quick summation: Tony Zervik was building an NPC-driven universe that was going to have supply and demand, where players were 10% or less of the calculated economy. Croncy, you referred to the quanta, but they were going to be doing all the same missions that players were going to do. They were going to be mining. They were going to be extracting resources. They were going to be refining. They were going to be bounty hunting. It was all going to be a much more complex supply and demand driven universe where the players could influence it, but we're not going to be able to dominate it.
How does this really sound like it's different? I don't see the difference.
The focus from that I'm seeing from Rich Tyrer is that they want this to be a player driven economy, a player driven action, player driven game, as many multiplayers as possible. They want to have all this great action and dynamism and conflict and competition for resources and that sort of thing.
Can I ask you a question? What about the old way with Tony sounded fun? There's the balance is the part that made the most sense. I would agree. That's what drew me to it. What sounds, when you really think about it, when you play video games, what do you like? Were you fine just because I was kind of feeling like I was just a passenger in this world that Tony was building and I wasn't a part of it. I was just this ant inside of an anthill, in a way, was what I was starting to get vibes with the way he was explaining it. But at the same time, it always showed, like even on the demo, it showed the players interacting with things, and then the NPCs would just not let it get out of control, which is still what it sounds like we have now. So I'm not, but I really want to ask you, what drew you so much to that you thought was fun, and what about this is not?
I don't think there was not going to be any of this in that. There was still going to be massive orgs. There were still going to be battles for territory. There were still going to be
crafting,
resource competition, crafting. They talked about crafting and all this stuff years ago, but in super superficial fashion, because they weren't to the point where now they're really building a game. And back then, everything was just theory crafting. They hadn't even started. We were going to have all of this. I've got plenty of people that have massive fleets. I know one guy with 10 javelins, and he was all the support fleets, and he's got a big org. And they were going to control territories. And the reason he got him was because we were going to have more star systems, and that's not a surprise. And all of us within the past several years knew that was going to get scaled back. But he was going to have these fleets and positioned in different areas for control of various territories, and all this was still going to be a part of Tony's vision, but it
none of that
likely would not have been imbalanced as we're afraid it's going to be, like Eve has become. And
so I want to touch on that again, just because you mentioned that before about Eve.
I think Eve's incredibly balanced.
Is not unbalanced.
Yeah,
the sovereignty is unbalanced, and that's got a lot to do with some mechanics that came out a few years ago. It has possibly the best video game economy of all time.
Yeah. Jorunn, as somebody who has never played Eve before until 3 months ago, I came into it with the idea of Tony's balance, and I liked that idea, and then I started playing Eve. And it's not even a question. This economy is as good as you can do in an MMO. I've not seen anything better. What is toxic and what is shit about Eve are the people sometimes, or the players, or the attitudes, or
the fact that it's full loot and stuff.
The egos.
That's what stops a lot of people from playing the game. Also, I just want to apologize. I do have a lozenge in my throat because my throat is killing me.
You're fine. You're fine.
Guys, I swear I'm not trying to sound like a dick anytime I'm talking. All right.
Yeah. I ate on stream the last time we had a podcast because I was starving. You got to do what you got to do. I was starving. So yeah, just from my perspective, somebody who just started playing Eve, they should be trying to take the good pieces of Eve, and not. They have the opportunity to go, Eve has been around for 20 years. Let's do what they did well, and let's learn from the mistakes they made. And I think that's what they're doing.
If they can.
Well,
the
if is always going to be a thing, right? And we'll always be speculating on stuff. So that's, obviously super fair.
Mm-hmm. So that's one of my complex concerns. That we'll see when we get closer to it, and they start to try to balance these things, and whether or not, as a small crafter, you want to be an arms dealer, are you going to have the ability to get those super rare resources that are only available in Pyro, that is controlled by these mega orgs that are going to be controlling all of those resources and not wanting anybody to come in and take them. So that's going to be an interesting question, how that develops.
Oh, I think it's simple. Just somebody who's played other games before, has played other games like this before, is the mega orgs won't hoard all of it for themselves. Money has to matter in the game, right? So you use some of it, but you also have to make money. And your mega whales, your friends, some of these guys that you're friends with, the guy with 10 javelins, I imagine he's not just buying javelins. I imagine he's going to buy credits as well to make his situation a little bit easier, right? I don't know this guy. I'm not going to speculate. I'm just giving an example, right? The people are going to be buying gold in this game. That's going to be something that's available. And the players in the big orgs are going to sell to not just players who are buying gold, but solo players who are grinding for UEC and all that stuff. And they're going to put the rarest materials on the market to buy as well, because they're going to need money to buy the fuel to run their space stations or whatever, right? The idea here is that everybody's going to need everybody, but they don't necessarily have to work directly together in a Discord all at the same time. Hopefully it's, hey, there's 10,000 SCU of fuel for our station over there. We need to go buy it. Well, we don't have enough money. All right, go put some of the rare sandworm stuff on the market. All right, cool, let's go. Yeah. Right? That's how I see it. But again, it can go your way, where your concerns are. It can go that way. It's possible. It can go my way, where it's all rainbows and butterflies, and it's exactly the game I want. It's probably going to be somewhere in the middle, right?
I hope it's rainbows and butterflies for everybody, because there are
Yeah.
a lot of players out there, and like what you've got a large active org. I've got a large active org. I expect to
Uh,
have
I
several
have a
thousand
small
people.
unactive org, but yeah, it's fine.
But a lot of our gameplay, we plan on doing stuff with a lot of people, and having those kinds of resources. And okay, well, if I want to go out and take my whatever ship out, like Pioneer, and I need to get a crew of people, I can go in and say, okay, we're on Saturday, we're going to take 4 to 6 hours, and we need to have a dozen people crewing this, and that's how we're going to do that. I think the gut blow to so many people that bought medium ships, like the Carrack, the Starfarer, any of the ships that need 3 to 5 crew, that if you only have an hour or two a day to play, you're not going to be able to use those ships, because every single time you have to have those other crew on your ship at all times, because it's not going to be this alpha jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, everybody just pop over here. It's like, you're going to be persistent on this ship in one of these 5-star systems, and you have to stay there, and you can only play when those people can play with you on that ship.
Not
So I
necessarily,
think
but
it really makes
not necessarily, because you have that party finder now, which is a really useful thing for that, right? But I see. I'm going to stop you just because my chat's being toxic, and I'm stopping them because they're wrong. They're saying good, like screw you, good. You bought a ship that was multi-crew, and well, let's that's what they're saying, and I don't agree with that. You got to remember, all the way back to 10 for the chairman, you have Chris Roberts going on camera saying NPC crew is going to be a thing, going back to the first thing we talked about when he came in here, right? And that's one of those things where I do
a few
hope,
years ago.
yeah, of course, and I hope that's something that they go ahead and they realize that probably does need to be a 1.0 priority. So if it is technically possible, it needs to be something that they really try to work towards. And he said probably not. He didn't say definitely not. So now that it means probably not, well, what do you take out and prioritize over that? So I'm with those players in that aspect of, I don't believe you should be able to man a multi-crew ship by yourself. So they've put in the systems of resource network and all those things to make that more complicated. I believe that it is a good compromise, that you will make less money, you will have more headaches, and you will have less competent NPCs in your ship. But I don't believe that you shouldn't be able to fulfill your fantasy of being a Carrack pilot in the game if you are only playing with one other person or only playing by yourself. I don't think that's fair either.
That is always going to come at the cost of something, right? Otherwise, you are de-incentivizing people to group up in an MMO.
Exactly. It has to be a negative.
If you make solo pilots too powerful, then everyone will solo pilot. No one will group up. That whole aspect of the game becomes useless, right?
It should be powerful, but you should just be able to go out in the verse and just do your own thing.
If you can do the exact same thing that I can do,
you can.
And
it's just going to be harder.
It costs you slightly more time, right? It needs to be a big difference, is what I'm trying to say. Like,
you
mentioned the person who like might have a Carrack or whatever and only has 2 hours to play. Well, then the Carrack just isn't going to be a good ship for them, and I don't think that's a problem. I think that's fine.
I don't agree,
there needs to be a back and forth, and most of the time it's going to be in that. If you are trying to solo a ship that requires multiple people, it's going to be time rather than difficulty, because it's too hard.
But what about NPC crew? What about NPC crew? Like, that's the part that is it's always been a part of the conversation.
You can still bring in the NPC crew.
You should not be able to solo
garbage.
Yeah.
You
should not be able to solo it, but you should be able to solo it. You should be able to, and that's the part that I personally have issue with, is that you should be able to solo it, and you can't.
But is that so?
At the moment,
with AI Blade, with them saying AI Blades will be 1.0, NPC crew won't. Is that not the exact same thing? Is that not, I'm going to go do this combat mission? I've got the blades that is letting me do this mission harder, because the blades will be garbage. But it'll let me do the mission harder, but solo. It's still going to take longer, and that's just going to be the thing.
Blades can't do what NPCs can do is the issue. Only where it comes to
I mean,
turrets,
NPCs can't do anything at the moment, so
Yeah, but that's
well, and we all well, I was going to say we all know, but like obviously most people don't seem to realize that this is all server dependent. Like when
Yeah.
servers are
of course.
operating, you get a 30 FPS server and a low pop. Those NPCs are mind-blowingly good. But it's not about combat missions. It's about like if somebody wants to go out and they want to have a mining ship, like a mole, and okay, you want to have an NPC pilot, maybe an engineer, and you want to do mining or something. For a random example of a small 3 to 4 person ship that they just want to go off and just enjoy space. They just want to just do their own thing.
Well, you
without
don't need a crew
having
for that
to
necessarily.
socialize.
Yeah.
Not right now, but
Well-
with the
well-
engineering systems coming in.
Well, even with engineering, you still don't. The only time engineering really comes into it is if you end up in combat situations, or you end up, like in the mole example, if you accidentally, overcharge a thing too much and you need to start repairing yourself, right? So most of the time, if your goal is just to enjoy space, you can do that. And I don't think that us not getting NPC crews in 1.0 takes away from that really much at all.
I don't believe that solo players should control the way the game is played. I believe that everybody should have an enjoyable experience, but I also don't think that if you bought into the idea that you were going to be a solo pilot Carrick and dominate, like that's the attitude that I have an issue with, and I don't think that's what Jorunn is saying, but I do think that is the attitude that I often see on the forums, that I often see on Reddit, that I've just seen the way the players act. Yeah, is that they feel entitled to everything, and you're not entitled to anything.
And that is completely opposite of what most people are. The forum trolls are the forum trolls, and that's why I never go on the forums, because they are the worst sort of people.
I haven't been on Spectrum in months.
Yeah,
I talked to so many people in the community that they saved up a bunch of money, and they bought a $300 to $500 ship that they just want to be able to spend time on, enjoying this beautiful immersive space simulation, and go off and do their own thing without having. They're not competing. They're not trying to dominate. They just want to go enjoy their spaceship in space.
Then they'll be fine without an NPC crew, most likely. I believe.
Yeah.
I believe.
I don't know. Have you been attacked by NPCs when you're trying to do cargo by yourself? Like, that sucks.
Well,
I was running missions to some outposts.
That sucks for anybody.
Just ruined my day.
That sucks for anybody in this game, period. The moment you get out of your ship and you can't defend it at all is bad. But AI Blades
I don't
likely could help
think
you with
NPC
that.
crew will make that feel any better, right? Like because you got to remember as well, NPC crew are going to be worse than players, in like every single situation. Even just on an aspect of like communication, I can't literally talk to.
Have you seen some of the players?
For sure. That's where I was going. Like, a really good player is always going to be better than a mediocre player, or that guy. Referring to it, it's like there's always that guy, and then there's wife aggro, pet aggro, kid aggro, or they got to go to the bathroom, or they got a phone call. It's like, oh, we're right in the middle of battle. It's like, oh, my boss just called. I'll be back, and they never come back.
I will say, and
reliability with less efficiency.
Jorunn, this is where we'll probably end it, but I want to say one last thing is I have no time for I only have 2 hours to play conversation, though. And you're playing an MMO. It never turns off. We will achieve the same goals over time, and you will just achieve them slower than I will. If I get to play 8 hours a day, which maybe I will, maybe I won't, I get to my goals sooner than your goals if they're the same, but it's an MMO. It never turns off. You will get to them in the same amount of playtime that I will.
Yeah.
And
that's not an issue with Star Citizen. That's a fact of the genre. Right?
Yeah. So that argument I have zero time for from anybody, but you heard me. I am defending this NPC crew thing hard because that's what was said. You made purchases based off of it. It goes right back to the Galaxy conversation. you gotta hold to that kind of stuff. Is I should be able to fly my Carrack by myself. I will just not be able to kill a sandworm with it. Whereas a fully crewed one might be able to, something like that, right? You can't have the expectation of I'm going to be able to do everything as good as everyone else, but I should be able to fly around and experience the game. And most likely, you're going to be able to do those things even without any crew in something like a Carrack. The engineering thing sounds like it's going to give you enough time to, hey, I can go to the panel and vent that room. I can go down there and repair that thing if I come prepared. So we'll see. But that's where I'm at with that. But yeah, you obviously I'm not going to be the last person to talk. We always let you be the last one to talk. So if you have any final thoughts before we go to callers, because there's a lot of people in line, and we usually only keep them to 5 minutes. But you're a very special guest, and I think people understand.
I appreciate the chat. It's an exciting topic. Lots of good and unknown things coming. Lots of speculation.
Lots of
it's
unknown.
It's gonna be a fun ride.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
guys.
All right, thank you, Jorunn.
Cheers for calling in. We appreciate it.
Be good, man. All right. So now we will bring in Artecius, but again, I am less organized than ever before. Yeah, this is. I've experienced a lot of Artecius in the last week. It's been interesting. So now we get to talk to him.
Well, that's what happens when I'm not streaming. He has to come over here.
Yep. You can have him back.
Hello, Artecius.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Hello.
I'm sick.
Yeah, well, we know that. We don't care.
Yeah, fair.
Just get better.
What would you like to talk about?
Spell it right.
Yes. So I kind of tried my best not to watch anything related to Citizencon, so I could come in here a week later and then go, what was the most memorable moments for me? Because that's the stuff that's going to stick with you. So crafting was a big one.
Yep.
Zach doing it's absolute cinema was
awesome.
Probably one of my favorite bits. Jared pulling a hamstring really stuck with me for some reason.
Oh my god, have you checked on Twitter? He like messed up his leg.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he really messed up his
laughing.
leg. Something about, because this happened last year with Xylo. Something about CIG devs just hurting themselves on stage. I don't know.
Yeah. And then crafting was a big one, but I used to play WoW a lot. So the only thing with crafting and item stats I'm concerned about is item score gatekeeping coming in. Because that was a big part
I hadn't thought
of
of
WoW.
that.
So
Can you describe
for example,
that?
Mike, so
I never played
in
WoW.
Star Citizen with their system, it would essentially be like, hey, we're going to go do Xeno Threat, tier 4 ships and above only.
In that like social platform, like we're not no plebs allowed because we're not putting up with your bullshit.
Pretty much.
Yeah, like
It's
New World had that with
toxic.
their like gear score minimums and things like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So in like the WoW part, like group finders, you'll have minimum gear score this. If you don't have it, then you can't even join. You'll just get kicked immediately. So
Oh,
that
that's
can breed a lot of
happening for
toxicity. Yeah, and that breeds a lot of toxicity as well. So that's something I'm kind of worried about.
It like theoretically makes sense. It theoretically makes sense because it's like, all right, if you got to that gear score or whatever we would have, you are a gamer enough that I don't have to babysit you during this.
Yeah.
So it's like
You say that.
Yeah, no, I know, but I know that's not true.
I've been a raid leader. They still stand in the fire.
Yeah, I know it's not true, but that's the idea.
One of the main
behind
differences might be just for that might not make it as bad is like we need a lot of seats more than anything. So it's like, we're going to crew up a javelin. What is it, 80 crew baseline or whatever? There's a lot more leeway in that sort of stuff. Even if you're like, hey, we're getting a fleet together of heavy fighters, there'll be someone who's more okay with the turret. So like, I think it will happen. I don't think it'll be as aggressive as those MMOs.
Yeah, of course. And this is something like it's at the back of my mind because coming from other MMOs, it's like something that is a potential concern. The instancing, finally they're doing it. So I think Elliot was in chat and I tagged him as like, how good is Siege of Orison going to be when we actually have instancing and it's set to a player cap that it's designed for, not just like 100 players skipping content.
Yeah,
and actually works. Air quote works. It's Elliot's mission after all.
Might not work.
So it probably won't work. And then didn't Squadron 42 was just I was like, yep, 2 years away.
That
Cool.
took
It's always 2 years away.
That took the air out of me. Was like too far away. Why do I care?
Day one was really felt like a slog. And then it just was just like, oh, I was like so hyped. Like not hyped. I don't want to say I'm hyped because just like after day one, I jumped into the live environment and I was like, yep, it's still trash. Cool. Ready for day two.
Not to mention it got worse after Citizencon.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was
just logging in, right?
Yeah, it was horrendous.
It has been in degraded performance since what, October 19th or something?
Yeah, I think they turned it off like today, like a few hours ago.
But I've been hearing in like Discord groups that it's still absolutely horrendous. Like 30Ks every 10 to 15 minutes.
Rough.
Then crafting is probably the big thing for me because it used to be like the collecting all the rare weaponsmith crafting stuff back when that used to be relevant in WoW. So that's something I'm excited to do. So like my gameplay air quote loop, if it even is a thing, is like salvaging is what I'm interested in. So I was hoping we would get expansion on what 1.0 careers would look like.
Not much. But they didn't say too much about
all they
mechanics.
mentioned is that like these ones exist, and then they explained like a little bit of like crafting job, and that's it.
But only exists through the guild system. Like they didn't even explain how it exists as much in the sandbox world as much as they did, but not
like they explained. I want to get
to the
this.
depth.
All right, cool. How do you get that through mining, blueprints, etc.
But they did it only through mining, where salvage has to change a lot.
Yeah,
I had a long discussion about that yesterday or the day before. It was fun.
Croncy doesn't like what I want salvage to be.
Okay, what do you want it to be?
So I want scraping to be gone. I don't want power simulator on ships. For me,
hang up on this guy.
Honestly, so true.
Right?
I'll just at you in chat until you rebel.
Oh my god, he added me. He added me 30,000 times during the Citizencon streams while I'm trying to run this thing. Oh my god,
such a menace!
It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, man, I haven't been on ATC for like a year and a half, 2 years. I've just got to come back and style.
There's clearly been a reason for that.
No, exactly.
I want to ask you a question, Artecius, because we were talking about the crafting just then. One thing we didn't talk very much about is the shops they mentioned when during the building and stuff.
Yes.
I'm a little concerned. I want to hear if you're a little concerned, and anyone in chat if you are concerned as well. They talk about, you will be able to list your items on your Mobiglass, but you'll still have to go to the physical location. I am a little concerned that we're going to have
Mike has
85,000 terminals in one area as a trading post, and that sounds terrible.
So I have a little information on this. Hopefully, this is like very fingers crossed. I was like, yo, this is stupid as hell. If you're able to list things on the Mobiglass, you should be able to buy the thing on the Mobiglass, but you have to go to the place to pick it up.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's not my concern, though. My concern is the fact that all of those shops, like Mike, Artecius, and we can't, at least from what they said, put all of our items for sale in the one shop.
It's not a marketplace. It's not a marketplace.
That's the problem I have.
No, it needs to be a marketplace. That's silly. But what I'm hoping is the marketplace is the Mobiglass, and then you just go and pick up at the at like the freight elevator or whatever. And Jake was in chat and he was like, yo, that's actually a good idea. I'm gonna just shoot it up the ladder and see what happens. So we'll see what happens.
I think they should go one further to implement the play base into it, is that you have the option, if you buy that item on the Mobiglass, to create a mission for someone to deliver that item to your home base or a specific location for you to pick that up, so you don't have to manually go to pick it up. Because then it creates more beacons, creates more jobs, gets people moving around.
Yep, definitely.
And someone could go there and pick up multiple items, do multiple deliveries.
Somebody has to pick it up physically. Doesn't necessarily have to be you, but somebody's got to go to that location and get it. I'm okay with that part.
Yeah, of course.
No automatic delivery or anything. That's silly.
Yeah. And then as far as like galaxy drama, what a shit show that was. I enjoyed that thoroughly. So like my main issue with it is that he didn't. I don't consider what he did apologizing. He
That's
pretty much
fair,
just
I
went,
guess.
"You misunderstood me." No, John. In your follow up double down, you specifically said, "In anyone can go. It's still on Spectrum."
Mm-hmm.
You said the drones don't work with the Galaxy. But what we have planned for base building, the drones don't fit. They don't work. It's not happening. That's. And then they show the Argo truck, which is the size of a Cyclone, with medium drones, which is 1/100th the size of a Galaxy, and
Is
it doesn't
it
fit.
straight up because there's no drone bay on the Galaxy? Is that the problem here?
So the way base building works with drones now does not lend itself to the Galaxy's module layout due to their size and navigation requirements. How big?
You knew that 6 months ago, though.
They would have to go through like doors and shit.
It's fine, but you knew that 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. Well, they would have when they changed from the to the Perseus. They would have had to sit down and go, what does the Galaxy need to be finished? What does the Perseus need to be finished? And they would have talked about it then and go, oh, we can't do the base building module because marketing wants us to sell the build.
Yeah, which
instead.
we all know is what happened. But yeah,
I don't know why they made the head of the build ribbed, or the Starlance bit ribbed, but that was weird. And okay, thanks CIG. Ribbed.
What a weird. Spaceship. Sorry, just what a transition from like, goddamn, John doing all this stuff. Also,
penis.
What the hell's with the shape of this thing?
It's just odd. Okay, I mean, like, I'm upset. I did like 2 meme posts on Spectrum and got banned for 3 days. So you know,
I also Zyla was in my chat yesterday, and I was like, I don't think you guys handled that situation well at all. And I said, I think the moderation of that conversation was over the top and ridiculous, and people should be allowed to be mad. And that's it.
And
he said he's going to look into it, but who knows?
Yeah, and it's just a case of like, at the end of the day, you saying what you said is just honestly, it's speculation. You could never deliver it. Like, I honestly think the Endeavor's never going to come out because there's just way too much. You think the Galaxy is such an issue now. What do you think the Endeavor's going to be when they have to make literally
now it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Now it's whatever comes with 1.0. It's before 1.0 and it's after 1.0. That's where we're at now.
Yeah.
So, a lot of this stuff is irrelevant.
Mm.
The game can theoretically die after 1.0, and they have delivered on many things.
My motorcycles.
Yep.
My Ranger motorcycles.
Roads 1.0.
So it's a very interesting thing.
Yeah. But
anyway, we'll probably leave it there unless you got anything else quickly.
Press 1 if you're a hate watcher in chat.
Oh no.
It's just Artecius spamming 1 over and
over. Always be.
All right. Cheers to the call, mate.
Have a good one,
Mike,
guys.
you can't press 1.
Why not? Why not?
Illegal. Can't believe it.
I hate watch my own content. That's how you get better. You don't do that?
I can't stand my own content.
That explains everything then.
Yeah.
You gotta make it so you like to watch your own stuff. Exactly. That's the point that I'm trying to make. If you don't like it yourself, then how are other people gonna like it? Right? That's why I watch my own stuff. Like, no jokes here. This is no memes. That's why I watch myself. And when I find myself laughing at either my chat or myself sometimes, I'm like, okay, that's good. Do more of that. Man, and then when I look at myself and go cringe, sometimes I could see myself say a joke and go, that was funny. I don't think that's egotistical or anything. And then other times I'm like, that's cringe.
I'll never watch my streams.
I think you should watch your streams. Honest advice. It's when
next stream.
It's when things started
to my streams.
Yeah, on your own time. It's when things started changing for me. Is when I started watching other people, hate watching them, hate watching myself, and learning all the mistakes from each other. And then I was like, oh, I think this would be a good stream. And then all of a sudden, people started liking my stuff more, and I was like, oh shit. Mm-hmm. I like watching your stream though, Croncy. So I don't know, but All right, let's bring in our next caller.
Mike's the one. Corn, how you doing?
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Yeah.
My throat's killing me.
Yeah.
Weirdly, ever since I stopped talking, my throat's been killing me. So
interesting.
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for having me on because I usually work on Sundays, so this is a treat for me.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
So there's like a few things that I just want to touch on for like what happened with Citizencon. Some things that I found weird, some things that I found like pretty cool.
Okay.
But first off, super like not important, probably going to change in the future, but all of the plants that they showed in the planet presentation were modeled off of Earth plants, which I think might be appropriate for Terra, but I just found it kind of strange that they didn't show like any alien features whatsoever.
You remember old Citizencon Pyro was mega alien?
Well, yes,
right, but I'm talking about the ones that they showed in the presentation.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but like, of the 5 systems that we have coming for 1.0, it's all very human centric, right?
That's fair, but they're still alien planets.
It tracks. I agree, and maybe a point towards them still considering that is a bunch of the fauna that Zach was showing at the end of his presentation. Incredibly alien, like not just here is a dog with like weird face. There was like weird floating squids and stuff like that. So I think it's more just a case of it's not a priority. I don't think it's something that they'll forget about.
So are you more in reference of the swamp? You're talking about the swamp biome, the redwoods, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like all of the plants that they showed in that presentation, where they said the scientific names of the Earth plants that they were modeled off of.
Yes. So I have some lore that I think, if I remember correctly, is the reasons why is, well, when you terraform things for humans, you have to bring the plants that create the oxygen the way humans would do it, right? Or whatever. So I think that was the lore behind that but then to the opposite point, you have Croncy pointing out that, a space cow with eggs on it isn't exactly a cow that would be, or a, like a bison that would be, spreading fertilizer across the plains of the United States or anything, right? So,
like, if that philosophy sticks, I just have the fear that like it could lead to like a instead of like red Stanton, it's just like oh, this is yellow Earth, like that kind of thing. Like every planet just kind of looks like Earth or resembles Earth, and I don't really want that. But like I said, that's not an important topic like whatsoever. It's just like an observation that I had while I was watching.
Sure. I will also just say, I think within the first 5 systems, I think there's enough variation, once again, lore-wise, because we've only seen Pyro and Stanton. I think there's enough variation lore-wise between the planets to be, yes, like they're all Earth, but they've all got different biomes.
Yeah.
In addition, as Castra is going to be one of our 5 systems, and it borders Jorunn systems, I would not be surprised if the first, expansion, dare I say, after 1.0 involves bringing some of those more alien planets to us.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, to take my point and flip it right on me is, Croncy, your camera froze. If you're still here, okay, you're back. To flip my whole point on me is, well, we're friends with the Banu, we're friends with the Xi'an. Why wouldn't we maybe use plants that do things better? Something like that.
Yeah, so that's fair.
Yeah. One other thing in the planet presentation, I thought that clusters were a really cool idea, and I think I hope that they lead to more cohesive mission chains. Since like everything is so close together, like you can and they relate to each other, I just feel like you're going to be able to go zip and like do multiple different things to a complete more not fulfilling but more in-depth mission instead of just go here, do this thing, leave.
Yeah, even
good
think
news,
like
Elliot explicitly said he wants to do that. So
yeah.
Well, whether it works or not, we'll see. But I imagine we'll get sort of missions like it take your eliminate all, but it's instead you've got to take out all of the ones from this whole cluster.
Yeah,
right. We'll do a lot more moving around. I imagine is coming.
Yeah,
it's cool. And then the fact that it's like a mining cluster is near a resource, so I'm going to a mining cluster, but I also find the resources that I might want there. is cool. And there might be more risk to get those resources because there's NPCs defending it, and so they might be higher value, and like it just starts, adding layers on top of it. So yeah.
They all add to each other. When it comes to org stuff, I loved everything that they mentioned, but I was really surprised to see that the things like that they didn't add, like the one like major thing that really stuck out to me that they didn't say anything about was having like org ships.
They slightly touched on it. Like you're gonna have org hangars. They said org hangars.
Yeah. I really want to have like the like since we're going to be able to craft these big ships in stations, I really want to have the ability for like everybody in my org or like select people in my org to be able to like call this ship from ATC.
That goes directly against their funding model, though. So that's what I'm like. I think we all are like that. The probably won't happen.
Mike. It might be okay.
I mean, if it's crafted, then I think it's okay. But like it's still like like an owner of a ship could still say, I want this person to be able to call this ship. Like it doesn't have to be everybody, but the owner of the ship could still like dictate those things.
Yeah, they alluded to it as a possibility, but yeah, you're exactly right. They didn't really touch on it.
Yeah.
So
only so many hours.
As they continue, we'll find out.
We have many years for them to touch on it before it even gets remotely close, which is a bummer.
That's
this is wild.
I mean,
I'm sorry, just to point this out. I was at this exact location in Pyro yesterday on this moon.
Well, there you go.
That's weird. And I went there randomly and chose a random spot. So unless they're exactly like I was literally at this location.
That's the little island on the Clio. Moon.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That is very cool and interesting, Mike.
Shut up. I'm gonna go back and rewatch this and realize I shouldn't have said that.
Squadron. I really narratively, I think it's a really cool way that they like establish the player character's progression like professionally within the Navy. I think that's super cool, and I can like see the potential of that. Even if it's like not an amazing game, I think that it will be spectacular, like in the true sense of the word. I think that it will be a spectacle. And I'm excited for like just a narrative experience that I can enjoy. I also really liked the design of the Vanduul ships. That's something that I've really been excited about for a very long time. I'm very excited for the Vanduul redesign.
They're
the
badass.
VFX of all the weapons was so cool.
Yeah,
they were all really nice. I also really liked the ships that the actual Squadron 42 were using. They like seemed super experimental and very custom, and I really appreciated that. That is one thing that I would love to see with ship crafting. To be able to like make something with ships that is like truly your own, and that like really leads into like ship crafting, but also craftable items being able to be sold, and like you could really like it, because that's something that I'm really interested in the game is mercantile gameplay. I want to like be really good at making things, and I want to sell those really good things to players. So like being able to like customize ships in my own specific way or my org's own specific like distinct way, and being able to sell that to people, and people being able to like look at that ship and be like, oh, that's a Bel Earth ship, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
They also showed off what was it, the year before, in like one of the snippets for the Squadron, there was that cutlass that was like super heavily modified.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we didn't see those actually because we only did the Vanduul, so we didn't get the what were they called, shipjackers or something like that. Yeah, they have some faction name, but they have like special modded versions of the civilian ships, which are super cool.
Yeah. I also wasn't like.
Hold on.
Really...
Well, I'll be right back. Somebody's knocking on the door. Go ahead though.
Okay. One thing that I was also pretty like, I wasn't worried about the cutscenes really, because like this is a prologue. I feel like this is going to be like one of the parts of the game that is very like, I think that this is going to be a cutscene heavy part of the game, but I don't think that the game will be extremely cutscene heavy.
Yeah, like I said, like that was originally my concern, but after rewatching it, I take it back. I think it'll be fine. No issues here.
My wife locked herself out.
Oh.
All right.
The last thing that I really wanted to say, yesterday, while like during the 4.0 test, I got kind of bored, to be honest, and I had a little spurt, and I mapped out the first 5 systems and like all of the systems that they connect to. There are 12 systems that they connect to total. 3 of those 5 all connect to Hadrian, which is odd because like there's really nothing on Hadrian other than a flotilla that is like a Xi'an Mall.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's there.
I mean, we have
like
to start getting systems that are relatively empty too at some point.
Which most of them are. Lore-wise, most of the systems are like they are not Stanton, they are not Terra, they are not Pyro. They're a lot more like Castra.
You need hubs. Hubs where we all hang out, but places where we go for content. Right?
And Pyro, Castra, and Nyx all like branch in one direction, galactic map wise, and then Terra is like completely on the other side. So you can kind of like when you look at the map, you can kind of like see what directions they're really trying to. Yeah. You can see like what directions they're trying to branch out into, and like the direction that things are going to go release wise.
Cool. Well, I'll jump in, Corn, and say we'll probably close you off here because Croncy's throat's about to die, and we got 3 more callers we have to get to. So we'll I appreciate you calling though, and I'm glad you have off on Sunday and you got to enjoy the show.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. All right, be good.
Catch you around.
Bye now.
Peace.
All right, let me again. Way more clicking than buttons than I had before. Let's bring in Tubbs.
Tubbs, how you doing?
Tubbs.
G'day, gentlemen.
There we go.
What
Howdy.
Not much. It's Sunday for him. It's 4:30 on Monday for me. Work Mondays, but public holiday. So
nice.
I thought I
sound like you're from New Zealand.
Yeah. I think it's 2:30 for Croncy, I think, roughly. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be fast since this has gone on for so long already. The show. So you guys talked about the economy before. I really want to talk about that, but they didn't mention it at all at Citizencon.
Yeah, very little. Very little.
Which was disappointing for me. But overall,
they mentioned the economy, but only within the context of crafting.
Yeah. I would have liked to see more talk about how it's going to be done, because they talked about effort versus reward, and I think that's a silly system. But anyway, that's beside the point. Felt like last year's CitizenCon, I was very excited for the Q1 patch. I was like, I've seen all this stuff at CitizenCon and it's coming. And I just feel like I don't even know what the plan is for 4.1 or 4.2.
Let's get 4.0 first. Like even doing the Evo playthrough, like we didn't talk about that at all. I just feel like a tourist right now. It's very art focused, not very gameplay focused. I'm okay with that personally. I don't want it to be spoiled for myself too much, especially like with them opening up Evo. I just feel like everything's content now, and it's just like I don't get to enjoy the game at all. And I'm fine with that. And but yeah, there's not a lot there, man. So like at the moment, it's hard to see even the vision for 4.0 within the context of 1.0.
I will say Jake did mention that they are going to do the roadmap roundup this coming week.
Okay.
And that it was a big one. So
True.
No, it doesn't give us a lot of context, but like I imagine we could see some 4.1 stuff there.
Jake's also like the most important person now going forward with the 1.0 vision being laid out on a roadmap now, right?
Yeah.
Super, super important.
Which actually, that might be the case. The roadmap roundup literally might just be 1.0, here are the features.
5 years down the line, let's see.
Sorry, continue, Tubbs.
No, you're right. My main point is to do with the blueprint system and the issues I think that it's going to cause. I don't know if any of you ever played Rust back in the day, but there was a blueprint system that's changed a lot over the years, and they've struggled a lot to get it right. Essentially, you would start a wipe. You'd have no blueprints. This is way back. You'd collect blueprint fragments, and it was like 200 blueprint fragments you could craft like a tier 1, and it would basically be a random item out of the tier 1 list 500 would give you a random tier 2 item. 1,000 would give you a random tier 3 item. But you do this and you'd grind all these blueprint fragments out, and you'd sort of go for the blueprints that you wanted and hopefully get the right ones. And that blueprint could only go to one person, right? So in your group, your clan, every wipe, there was always the issue of who's taking the blueprints this way. Tony's away for a week, so he can't do it. And, I've got schoolwork I need to do, so I don't want to take the blueprints. And there was a term we used called base bitch, which is the person who learns all the blueprints and sits in base and crafts for the entire wipe. It doesn't really get to play the game. You could, once you had built an item, you learn the blueprint for C4 and you craft it, you can spend more blueprints to copy that item and have someone else learn it.
Yeah, I want copies.
Yeah,
but very restricted on the copy side.
Yeah. So you could do that, but then it was also like you had all these other blueprints to learn. You don't want to be wasting BP frags. And I remember one time we'd spent like 2 weeks trying to get the C4 blueprint. Gave it to our buddy, and the next day his Steam account got hacked, and we couldn't get it back, and we spent another 2 weeks trying to re-roll it, trying to get lucky again. But I don't remember. It was just a nightmare. And I think it's gonna get goofy with the orgs and stuff, especially with how they're talking about everyone should specialize.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, oh well, we want to be building Hornets, but our Hornet guy is offline or away for a week. Like, there needs to be some sort of solution, like either copies or if they didn't want to go down the route of copying, they could do sort of like a every crafting station has an assigned thing, and you just basically, the person who has that recipe goes to that station, says this is going to be crafting tier 5 Hornets, and then that's all that crafts until someone changes it. He doesn't have to come back every time to reinitiate it or something like that. It needs to be.
I don't know what the answer is, but I think your concerns are really valid and make a lot of sense.
I have a big question. Well, sorry, I do, but it depends on the answer to the question.
Okay.
How big are groups in Rust usually in terms of like
our
your equivalent
group?
to a guild?
Our group was like 20 people.
Is that average, or
you see are like 50 people. I feel like 20 people is a pretty decent clan. Most groups are like
average is probably 10.
Yeah. That is probably why it won't be much of a concern in in Star Citizen, because of the pure amount of people that you'll have in your org and stuff like that. You will 100% have multiple people specializing into the same sort of thing, especially because you can still just make the money from it, right? You don't have to always be crafting stuff for your org itself. In addition, second question, trading in Rust. Like, the equivalent of a Hornet, if I wanted to get the equivalent of a Hornet that I know that my mate Bill can make, but he's, off in bloody Europe for 17 years. What's the strategy to be trading? Is it feasible?
Yeah, you could do it. But to learn that blueprint, you'd have to spend, if it's a tier 3 item, you'd have to spend, I think it was like 1,500.
But do you have to learn the blueprint to buy the item then?
No, you don't. But
that's what I'm saying. Like
it's a very fast game.
Yeah.
Like you get stuff and you lose stuff.
Because as long as I can still acquire those items, which like in Star Citizen would be what I would hope would be the case, then it becomes a lot less of an issue.
That is a good point.
If you're able to buy the blueprints, and the whole other thing is you're gonna want, if you're making Hornets, you're probably going to want 5 blueprints of Hornets and crafting 20 at a time to make 100 more quickly.
Yeah.
You'll want that scale.
Yeah. So it just comes down to like, are we really worried about the super rare blueprints? Or are we worried about all blueprints?
Who's the guy that has the Bengal blueprint, what happens if he kicks the bucket or something?
Yeah, who will own them? Your concerns are real, and I'm worrying about them now as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
Mike.
It's okay. No, it's a good thing to bring up now before they build it.
I think it'll mostly be fine. Just as long as we can easily acquire, even if we have to spend a ton of money, we can easily acquire those things from other people who have built them.
Yeah,
it becomes a lot less of a problem.
It just comes down to, is it more like Eve, where it's a bunch of people that are kind of doing their own thing, but within the guise of this huge alliance? Like at least that's what I see in Pandemic Horde. Is it's just this huge alliance with thousands and thousands of people, but everybody's just kind of doing their own thing, and the alliance is just there to like build a bubble around you for you to have like fun content, or say, hey, we're gonna go over there and fight those people. And then the FC is there, and buys all the ships or makes the ships for you, and then you go and do a fleet with them or something. It's hard to say. We need to see how Star Citizen evolves before we go, this is how it should be, right? Because you kind of have to let it be first, and then we'll see. But I see the issue of, we need to make these Hornets, dude. And the guys offline, what do we do? And then now we got to go buy 10 more blueprints of Hornets because dude just decided he wanted to stop playing. It'd be way cooler to have, org access to those things, whether he's playing or not. But
so much
better
org
friends.
access
That's
on
the
the
answer.
ships. Like with the ships as well. Like the previous guy before me was talking about another. I think we'll see as ships become more physicalized and less claimy. You can just stick them in the org and give people in your org permissions. So I think that'll be solved.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But then if you do that, are blueprints as rare as they should be? So it's like a whole. What do you do?
Yeah.
Leave the game designers up to it, but share your concerns, and I think they're valid. Anything else, Tubbs?
One last thing, very quickly. I think they mentioned they were talking about how insurance wasn't going to cover the cost of components, and that was going to be one way to force, punish losing your ship. I don't think having tier 3 insurance or like a plus tier insurance is a good idea. I think if you lose your ship, it goes back to the basic tier and you can start upgrading it again from there. But I feel like there needs to be more loss, with the warranty system. Even though you're paying for the insurance and, you've got a warranty on a ship, it just feels like you're never going to be worried about it if you just get ship back. But if it goes back to a basic from the factory ship, there's more hurt there.
Yeah, it could it could be fine. Depends on the price of the insurance as well as it goes up. Like once again, that it may not be an issue if the price of the insurance is practically the same as the components. At that point you're only saving, like, it's still worth getting because you're saving yourself acquiring them, but you're not really saving money. So definitely you are right. So it's definitely one to look out for when that's actually introduced.
Yeah, but it's so far away, it's hard to care.
Yeah. Well, all right, Tubbs.
All right. Been a
Thanks
pleasure.
for calling in, brother.
I'll catch you again in the future.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Have a good one, mate.
All right. That was a good call. Yeah, I definitely feel those fears. All right, Croncy, 2 more, and we'll make them quick. Jedi Menace, you're coming in. I hear you're deafened and all that. See, you're deafened and all that stuff. Hopefully you undeafen here very shortly. Otherwise, I'm slightly leaning towards not bringing you in next. He might be gone. So we might only have one more. Nope, there he goes. All right, cool. All right, we're bringing in Jedi Menace. Yeah, just doing the whole "Are you listening to the stream or not?" thing anymore.
Yeah, I was listening on the stream and waiting. How y'all doing?
Good.
First time caller.
Okay.
Yeah, don't believe you.
All right. I have no notes, so I'll be very quick. I want to see, when it comes to base building, the ability to build in asteroids, sides of mountains, and those kind of things. So, basically build like my bat cave, where my ship flies out the side of the mountain or behind a waterfall, those kind of cool things.
Sure.
Instead of everything just being on the surface of a planet. And that way, even though solo players wouldn't be able to build space stations, they will be able to build like an asteroid base or something on a smaller scale. That's just my
That'd be cool. Yeah.
They showed the big thing. I hope there is a small thing.
Yeah. don't think, and what you all said about linking the space stations, because how they describe you build it, how you start off with this one particular module, how are you going to plan the entire thing? I mean, that's kind of crazy. So I'm not even going to go there. All right. Yeah. Now I want to touch on briefly insurance. I don't have a problem with the tiered system, and I actually understand why they went the way they went, because you talk about spending hundreds of dollars on a ship to say, okay, it blows up and oops, your insurance expired, so sorry, it will leave a bad taste in people's mouth.
Sure.
And you only get tier 1, because from what they explain on Spectrum, you only get tier 1 warranty. And you could now purchase tier 2 and tier 3, because tier 3 will cover cosmetics and decorations, like for instance your skins. And if you got, say, a Croncy skin, to lose that skin, guess what? You need to, if you don't want to lose it, you got to get the tier 3 warranty. And I have a feeling it's going to have to claim it a cost than you just how it's going on now, because we're still in testing. So it's not really a cost unless you want to expedite it. But I have an honest feeling, just like in real life, you get into an accident, you pay an excess so that the insurance company could file a claim and all this kind of stuff. So it'll be another money sink. Getting the different.
Well, the insurance itself is a money sink for most situations, right?
Yep.
Will it be a money sink for people who have pledged for it?
Yeah, and I personally left this out of the conversation that I wanted to because I wanted to leave the door open for other people to say it, is we don't know the cost of tier 2 and tier 3. Yeah. You have to know the cost to know if it's OP or not, right? So once they say that, we'll know.
There will be a cost. You have to spend money to get the insurance, and I have a feeling you have to spend money to claim it.
Yeah. Especially like the whole idea of like, if you didn't have insurance and you theoretically lost the ship, there would be a fee for you to get it back or something like that.
Yeah.
That fee should be very pricey, because they would have given you 30 warnings to like, hey dude, don't do this. But you did it anyway.
Do not leave this pad. You are in an uninsured ship.
Yeah. I also feel like a place like Pyro should knock you down to only the T1. Like, there is no tier 2 or tier 3 available there. But yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. So they have ways to go.
If you're going Pyro, take off your good shit.
Yeah.
Or just know that you're risking it.
Or just know you're risking it. Yeah.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
They have ways to solve this.
Yeah. Now, something that I've always said is a lack of foresight or something when it comes to Star Citizen is they're trying to do so much innovative stuff, and they neglect some of the basic stuff that is standard across the board.
Yeah.
You saw them talk about the linking in chat. Not just Eve, not just.
I was just going to say, is that not what this Citizencon was about? Was it like bringing it to the standards of other MMOs?
Finally, so long, you know.
So many people in the chat while we were watching it were like, "That's in every game," like saying it in a negative way.
Yeah, that's the point.
And we were stopping, and we were like, "Dude, Star Citizen is not every game. So if they bring what's in every game to Star Citizen, it's like, okay, this is good. Yeah, this is really good."
No, but it has certain things that should be there. It'll give a certain amount of familiarity, but then you also add the innovative new stuff so that it goes into its own direction. But it has certain basic things that should be there, like being able to configure your chat, the linking, change the size of the text, color, these simple stuff I see in so many games. I used to play BDO. No instance content at all. And I'm like, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time. And same thing with Star Citizen.
These ideas just don't work.
Yeah, just not having any instant content as you grow and grow is just not going to be working long term.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Two last things so that I could move on so somebody else could come. One of the things Korn said about the alien plants and stuff like that, the alien stuff, when they were showcasing the Castria system, I believe, which is a human Xeon hybrid system,
it's a border planet.
Yeah, I was really hoping when they showed the buildings or the city, they would have used this other opportunity to let's show this Xeon. Everything we have is human based. It's like, come on, show us something alien. You know? So
I think when they go to develop it, they'll bring some vibes from that system in. I got a feeling.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about is what we always saying about solo players, because I would consider myself a solo player, even though I join a larger org and stuff like that. But I pretty much play mostly by myself or with 2 real life friends sometimes. And I don't understand why people believe you should be able to do everything, the top content as a solo player. Now, when it comes to the NPC crew, I have a feeling, and this is just my speculation, they will do something similar when Warframe rolled out their cruise ship. Forget the name of it. In the beginning, you couldn't have NPC crew because it was new. A lot of people flood back to the game, so people are playing. So let you get players onto your ship, and then as things start to die down, boom, they implement the NPC crew. So now, hey, I am not struggling to find crew for my ship because things have started to die down. And I have a feeling the NPC crew will come in not at 1.0, but 1 point something, so that after things start to die down a little bit. That's just my belief.
Mm.
And that's it. Thank you and Croncy for the time, and you all have a good day.
You too, Jedi. Be good, and we'll talk to you soon. We know we will. All right, bye now. All right, our next and final caller for all the people in the queue. I hope you understand. Croncy's sick. It's been long. I actually, with the new setup, I do not have the ability to see how long the calls are. I don't have the ability to see how long the podcast is. It's not in this tool at all. So I have no idea how long we've been going. So it's a little harder to keep track of the...
Hours.
Seriously.
Yeah, almost 3 hours.
Yikes. Okay.
Hey, it's the Citizencon episode. What do you expect?
True. It's going to be long. All right, Whitefox.
Whitefox.
Don't make us go into
guys.
4 hours.
Howdy.
I might just do that. I'm sorry.
What do you think about Master Mode?
Yeah.
No, hey guys. So thanks so much for squeezing me in here.
Of course.
Mike, you said to someone else in the past that this isn't necessary, but I feel obliged to say that English is actually my second language, so I'll probably stumble over a word here or there. So if I sound unnatural, that's probably why.
Literally sounds way better at English than I am, but okay.
No ways.
It's not that hard of a task, to be fair.
It's true.
And,
New Jersey.
Then secondly, guys, like, while it doesn't pay my bills, I am actually an indie game designer. I've been designing a casual tower defense game with heroes and crafting and stuff for the past year. It is released on Google Play Store. I won't give it a shout out here, don't worry. There's a lot of features and stuff coming in December, so maybe I'll come back and then I'll punt it here if you guys will let me.
I don't care about you shouting stuff out like that.
No, but I'll give it a while though. Still,
okay.
It's like not on iOS yet and stuff like that.
Hey, so hasn't stopped Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Like I should just keep promising new features.
True.
But yeah, so I've been thinking about game design and designing games on paper for the past like 12 years. So I really have given a lot of this stuff thought. I've been following Star Citizen since at least 2013. So this kind of leads me to my first point. I've got some notes here quickly so I don't misrepresent him. But Rich Tyrus said something about circular game design in his presentation on crafting. And like, since game design isn't really like a science, you can't fault him on what he said exactly, but it did raise a sort of canary in the coal mine red flag for me, because the way he describes circular game design isn't what I think of at all when I think of circular game design. So he describes it like, I have a prospector, but I want a Hornet, so I mine for credits to buy a fighter, so I can get rep with a mercenary guild, so that then I can buy the blueprint for the Hornet, which I now need to craft, so I go back to my prospector to mine, but this time I'm not mining for credits, I'm mining for crafting materials for the Hornet. And then he says, as you can see, the loop is now complete. But that doesn't feel like a circular gameplay loop because it only can really happen twice. What he's basically saying is that you do activity A with purpose A, and then you do activity A again, but this time with purpose B. Now the gameplay loop is complete. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, in WoW, you can mine ore to craft weapons, or you can also mine ore to sell to players. That alone doesn't make a circular gameplay loop. A circular loop is more like...
I was just sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, would the circular loop not be, and then my hornet exploded? Now I need to go do it again.
You've got it exactly like nail on the head. Nail on the head. A circular loop is more like you mine for ore, refine it into ingots, craft them into crafting components like bolts, plates, whatever, craft those into a ship, and then, again, the crucial part that Croncy just touched on, the ship crashes, gets shot down, gets completely worn out over time, flying through like atmospheres and asteroid rings and stuff without maintenance.
Doing it.
Yes, now you need to go back to that original gameplay loop, right? Because there's an economy sink. So, like, in getting this wrong, it's like kind of, well, not wrong, but you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit semantic, but it's not the end of the world, but it just kind of raised a little bit of a flag for me where my instinct went, wait a minute, that's not circular. And Star Citizen's biggest flaw right now in terms of gameplay, as you guys well know, is the fact that there isn't enough of an economy sink. You cannot have a circular loop if you don't have an economy sink. Because if you go back to his presentation, you mine ore to craft into a ship, as he says. Now what? Like, what's part 3 of the loop, right?
Yeah.
It ends there. Because, again, there's no sink in the economy. So it just kind of made me feel like, are you saying these things because you fundamentally understand Star Citizen's gameplay problems? Or just because you know from watching Mike's videos that this is what we want to hear?
It's definitely got nothing to do with me.
Like, at least I've got a plan, I guess.
What Mike wants.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I was starting to doubt that they had a plan at all for Star Citizen this year. So at least they've shown us the Citizencon that they do have a plan for the game. And they did bring up very briefly that loss has to matter at Citizencon. Yeah. But I just hope, I guess, that they understand how important that loss has to be, because...
It's so hard, and then they go in and they're just like, yo, but by the way, you can warranty literally if a piece of dust on your ship is going to come back. And you're just like,
yeah.
Uh-huh. And then on top of that, it's like, all right, well, if my gameplay loop is crafting weapons, well, the people buy my weapons and now they're under warranty and now they're duping my weapons.
Yeah, dude. Exactly. It's like, I don't know. I'm kind of testing the idea still, but they didn't really talk about the economy at all. And with players printing ships and, like you say now, crafting weapons and stuff, like, with the current and past economy, I don't know, man. I'm just not inspired with a lot of confidence that they're going to get, I don't know, like, if they get this right, it's going to be after like 5 years of iteration at this rate. Because, yeah, I don't know, man.
This is not perfect. It is a damn good start from what we have, but this is not perfect by any means.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I don't want to keep you guys too long.
Issues are going to come up, so
yep.
Continue.
Yeah, sure. So I guess we'll just let them cook, and we hope that they, that they do. But then I just wanted to give one final thing, because I kind of go against the grain here, and maybe I can give some hopium to people out there. I give CIG insane amounts of shit wherever I can. Like, I feel like they are allergic to honesty sometimes. But with this one thing, I have to sort of stand up for them, and just give my experience on polishing a game. With Squadron's release date being set for 2026, a lot of people were like, kind of bummed out about that. If you Google right now, Squadron, temper your expectations, you will find a post on Reddit that I made from a now deleted Reddit account. I did for real predict this issue. At the end of that post, I call December 2025 as the earliest possible release date for Squadron 42. Now, we made a really, really, really small casual little tower defense game. Polish for us took 4 months. I know it's 3 years, but for the size of Squadron 42, I mean, we're talking...
It's understandable,
like, yeah, like with Star Citizen in the mix, it's hard to quantify the cost of Squadron 42, really, but like we are talking about a $500 million project here. Like that is crazy. 3 years to polish that it's really not that crazy. So I just want to give to people who feel like, sort of let down. Obviously now, if they come back in 2026 and they go, hey guys, about that, answer the call 2028, then that sort of devalues it anyway. But if they do hit the 2026 release date, like I don't think anybody should feel too bad about that.
No,
I'm really surprised by how many people thought it would be 2025 after this year.
Well, people thought it would be 2024.
No, that's true. Yeah, those people are crazy. But they implied very much that it was like right around the corner at 2023 Citizens, and that's why people are feeling 2025.
Fair.
So
yeah, I think they do need to take some responsibility for that for sure. Like, you should
they
know
don't
that your audience are not game developers, and they're not going to know what polish really means.
Yeah,
so,
and they keep trying to make them, and it's just not. Just stop.
Just
stop
agreed.
and do. Just be honest. It's like really annoying.
So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it from me. I hope to call in again sometime, and thanks for all the content you guys give me.
All right, bro.
I will leave you with a final crazy thought, though. Blueprints should be consumable. Cheers.
I would be okay with that. I would not be against that whatsoever. It just depends on how easy they are to get and blah 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 blah. I'm down for that idea. All right, Whitefox, be good.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers, Whitefox.
Yeah, I would be totally fine with that personally, but
yeah, I mean, you talked before about blueprint copies. That's essentially what that is to start off with, right? So yeah,
exactly. So a 3-hour podcast, Croncy, and you're sick.
Hey, I slept for maybe 20 hours because I knew the podcast was coming up, and I was like, let's settle this. And it's just about time I could go back to sleep again because oh god, I am dying here.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm struggling. Like this whole week was such a crazy week. And like I have not recovered from Citizens yet at all. It's been hard, especially like dude, I lost my computer on Monday, the week of Citizencon. And the
everyone was telling me that at Citizens. I'm like, what the hell did he do?
My CPU died. But the CPU is the least likely thing to die in a computer. So trying to figure out what was wrong, it was insane. So like, and just trying to come up with it is brutal. Now I know I need to organize my backups a little bit better. I almost got right into streaming, but I was missing just a few things. So it's all good. But let's let Croncy go to sleep, guys, and we'll say goodbye to everybody. But a lot better of a sitcom than I thought it would be.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
and I hope everyone else at least enjoyed the last week or so.
Yeah, for sure.
For yesterday, the 8 hours yesterday.
I think it's going to be a tough year though coming up.
Yeah,
because it's not going to. We're not going to have what we saw at Citizencon, right? We're not going to be looking towards that. So anyway, thank you all, and don't forget to answer
the call.
After work.